thank you to even just for spending some time with us. You could have spent time anywhere with anybody else, and you decided that today would be a day that you would give us a little bit of your attention. So we do not take that lightly, and we're grateful and thankful and appreciative of everybody on here. Once again, we give all praise and honor to the Most High. We give all praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. And we thank all of you for helping her with her business once again to make sure that the health of diaspora is her business, and even for those who help her nonprofit, Changing Lives Initiative, helping with coat drives, giving food out. Even some of you have blessed us with materials to help out with like shea butter, socks, hats, scarves, etc. For us to give year round, especially to focus on the winter times. We appreciate you so very much. So thank you for that. And we're getting ready actually for a coat drive, not tomorrow, or no, I'm sorry, not Saturday, but the following Saturday. So keep us in prayers. We get ready to do that. And we're thankful and grateful. And so we're going to get right into it, really. And today we're going to talk about the truth about our men. And we talked about the truth about our women already. And when we say our, we're talking about from a cultural perspective. So yes, if somebody's like, oh, you're talking about this, that, you're talking about only a particular people, blah, blah, this and that. Yeah, today we are. Today we are. It doesn't mean that you can't get anything out of it. Doesn't mean that you can't be empathetic. Doesn't mean that we're saying that there's no such thing as patriarchy. It doesn't mean that we are totally anti-women or anything. None of that is actually being brought up today. We are simply bringing up that there's a perspective that's lost, is not talked about. And we started off with our women. So if you would like to be able to hear what was said about that, and see if before you already make a judgment or anything like that, you actually want to look and see what we are. We have this series on on a playlist on YouTube. So you can literally go to our YouTube page. If you're on TikTok, you can just go into our TikTok page, click on the link tree, and be able to pull up that playlist, listen to that part of the series, The Truth About Our Women, and see if what we're talking about actually makes sense. Okay. So just want to put that out there, because I'm not going to defend myself against my patriarchal normalcies when the reality is that I am far removed from the patriarchy. And I know somebody doesn't even like me saying that. How dare you say you're far removed from the patriarchy? That's part of the problem. No, I'm far removed from it, because I'm not even in the system. I'm not even what you guys think an American is. So I'm far removed from that system, and we're going to talk about it from a different cultural perspective. So just giving you fair warning, if that's what you came to do, if that's your thought process, you might want to look up what we do, who we are, some of our posts, whatever it is that helps you to get to where you feel you need to, where you can listen, and then we can have a conversation from there. Prayerfully, everybody will listen in on the conversation and be willing to help each other out. To the moderators, ministerial staff, to everybody, if you agree with us, disagree with us, etc., we appreciate your presence, no matter what you might feel about us, particularly. And thank you again for being on as we continue to make sure that we do things to change the mindset of a diaspora, and those who are like-minded, and those who would like to listen in for whatever reason. So thank you again. We'll have this together on the podcast for you guys, posted at a later time. And let's just welcome everybody in. So thank you for your patience as we explain away the beginning of this. And let's go ahead and get into this. So thank you to being on. Shalom to everybody, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, or TikTok, or watching this live, watching this later on. How you doing, Grand Rising Minister Sonia? How you doing, Anubis? How you doing, One Tone? Grand Rising to you. I'm sorry, is it Lenon Latham? I hope I said that correctly. Is it Carrie Sweet Treats? Thank you for being on. Bobby, how you doing? Eugene from the D, hello. Joanne, how you doing? Minister Sonia, be safe on your travels. How you doing, Sister Betty, Sister Sharice, Sister Beverly, Andrea, Clara P, how you doing? Sister Barbara, Brother Alton, Sister Marion, Auntie Marion. We're located all over the place, literally all over the place, traveling all the time. How you doing? Ladybug, Cookie, Minister Shantae, Tree by Living Water, Rancia Revolution, or sorry, Miranda, is it Randa Revolution? Sorry, Texas in the house. Awesome. We got a lot of folk down in Texas. How you doing, birds? Me. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's birds meh or birds me H name. I'm not sure how to say it. I apologize, but thank you for being on. Appreciate you. How you doing, Coco? To everybody, Lottie Dottie, everybody for joining us. We appreciate you. So we're going to get ready to get into this again. We want to make sure that we talk about this correctly. And we're talking about today the truth about our men. Once again, a couple days ago, we talked about the truth about our women, or maybe it was yesterday. I can't remember. We do so much speaking on this platform, but we talked about the truth about our women. Today, we're going to talk about the truth about our men. And as I was saying earlier, I'm not 100% sure where we're going to go with this because there are so many different places and directions and things that men are pointing to that it's kind of difficult. It's difficult to talk about our sisters. It's difficult to talk about our brothers. How you doing, Miss Mac? Because we are really pulled in so many directions that don't have anything to do with us. So when you talk about the patriarchy is real. Problem is that our black people at the top of the patriarchy. If you want to use the term black, Israelite, Moorish, native, indigenous, whatever your tribe of choice is, right? This thing that we put black, Negro, colored, African American, some of you still claim. How you doing, Brother Austin? We have this weird thing going on here where we have this belief that says what? That everybody's part of the patriarchy, right? But we don't really mean everybody. What we mean is all men. When you hear that term, all men are part of the patriarchy, correct? So if you get, and how you doing, Sister Bree? If you start hearing people talk about the patriarchy, the assumption has to be, right? And I know some people say you shouldn't assume anything. I know how that saying goes, but the assumption really has to be, if we're talking about all men, really what we're saying is that, or I'm sorry, if we're talking about the patriarchy, and now the saying even has started, the Black Lives Matter trope has been hijacked. It used to be no lives matter to Black Lives Matter. Well, now it's become, all men are part of the patriarchy until no men are part of the patriarchy. But that's not successful. And as we talk about the truth about all men today, that's not really a successful way of looking at anything. I know that's what you're hearing, and that's what's said, and that's what's brought to you, and that's what you believe. But the reality is, like, you can't really sit up there and say that until all men are not part of the patriarchy, or I'm sorry, until no man is part of the patriarchy, that all men are part of the patriarchy, then that means that you can't have any men that should be on your side anyways. And that really is what's going on, is that how can men be on the side of our sisters? How can we as brothers help you out? How can we as kings help our queens? How can we even become kings if you say that the only way to be a king is to be a patriarchy? We should treat you like queens, but we shouldn't be king. Like, it gets into this weird area where I don't mind gray area, but when we get into an area of absolutes, like, there are some things that are absolutely true. But if we're going to start off with absolutes, then it means that we can't really go anywhere. Right? If we are going to exhibit behavior that says that we can't, like, actually have some actual, like, ground of agreement, it's either you're all the way over here or you're all the way over there. We've already lost. And that's why it's important we bring things back to our culture. And I have to talk about our men because I speak to our men quite often, right? I watch our men, how they operate. I watched our men in Detroit, even if you weren't paying attention, not allow sisters to just go outside, right, by themselves. I watched our men have each other's back. I watched our men give testimonies about how they've wanted to be better husbands for their wives and better fathers to their children. I watched our men, every single one that showed up, be somebody who provides, whether he be single or have a family, he provides for himself and others around him. And so as I've heard these things, I realized that maybe we need to start figuring out why we're looking for men that aren't righteous. And what started it to be okay to be for it to be something that has become a mandatory mindset, supposedly, for men, for brothers, that says that we have to be trash, we have to be dogs. There's all types of stuff. Men are dogs. Men ain't nothing. A man go be a man, go be a man. Um, you know, this dog, a man don't care. A man will only do what you let him get away with. I mean, these are terms, they sound great and everything, but see, it sounds like you're talking about an undisciplined man or somebody who's a little boy in a man's body. There's a lot of little boys out there who never grew up with their bodies. And so we got to have a conversation. Like, who are you talking about? Are you talking about these little boys you've been messing around with? Are you talking about men? How you doing, Money Green? Thanks for being on. Right? Like, we gotta ask some of these questions. Like, who are we talking about? Because I don't hang out with guys who be cheating on their wives. And if they cheat on their wives, I say something about it and I stop hanging with them. Right. However, somebody would say you're still part of the patriarchy because, like, I'm not. I separate myself from that. So is the patriarchy just, hey, until you win against your enemy, that all of us have to be considered the enemy too, and you want all of us to fight? Because if that's the case, I mean, we could have a better conversation about that. The problem, though, is that you won't fight for us because our men are being told to fight for the feminist cause, but you won't fight for color or for colorism. You won't fight against racism. You won't fight for the right of our women. My mother is still not being fought for. My sister is still not being fought for. My wife is not still being fought for by your program. And so you're telling me to split attention at the least, but really you're saying, hey, give us what we want. And then we'll go ahead and say that everybody has what they want. But we've been dealing with that for a long time. You've been having us vote. You just had everybody run out November 8th. Make sure that you vote. Make sure that you vote. Everybody got to the polls before Tuesday. Now watch how much stuff changed. How you doing, Sister Deja? Right? They told you run to the vote, run to the vote, run to the polls, vote. Polls, just opinions, places where your opinions will be made known. Go make your opinion made known. And once you do that, watch things change. Okay. Show me what's going to change. Is it going to stop being a patriarchy because you voted? Right. And so then the default's going to go back to, see, it's the men that made it this, blah, blah. Like, did men go out and vote too? Was it only women that voted? Or did men go out and vote? I mean, see what I'm saying? The truth about our men is that we have been put in this position to where it's not okay to be men. And watch this, as much as you might not want to hear this, when men come together, a lot of stuff gets changed. Now, I'm not saying women are not part of the changes necessary for society. Every man is raised by a woman. Every man comes out of a woman, born of a woman, right? Tupac Shakur lyrics and all that, right? We know that we need our sisters. We cannot do things without it. But let's be honest. When we talking about men, which men we talking about? Are we talking about ours or are we talking about something else? Because our men aren't out here spending millions of dollars to make sure that they keep anybody in subjection, right? Some of them, I guess, there's exceptions to every rule. Sure, you might have a Michael Jordan or something like that out there, of course. You might have a Kanye, if you want to call Kanye one, sure. But let's not act like Kanye runs the world when Kanye can't make mention of, what was it, DEFCON 3, which, by the way, DEFCON 3, if you actually know how this stuff works, DEFCON 3 only means that you're going to be prepared to protect yourself and defend yourself if necessary, right? But everybody said, he said he's going DEFCON 3 on the Jews. Even if he did say that, which that's not what he said, but even if he did say that, he said, I'm getting ready to protect myself. And as soon as he came out masculine, what did they do? They shut that down because black men better not be masculine. Even if you disagree with him holistically and everything he says, that's fine. But he didn't get in trouble for actually saying things that were bad. He got in trouble because he was masculine. Right? I mean, that's real talk. I know we don't want to see it that way. And I know I'm oversimplifying it a touch. I get it. However, I'm not oversimplifying it by much. Right? And how you doing, Mrs. Is it Mrs. 05? Mrs. 05? I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, right? But that's the truth, right? We're okay with men. Hey, make sure that you do this, do that, go out, work, be obedient, this and that. But when a man is masculine for whatever reason, and it's not just all men. I know we want to do this, well, when all men's, yeah, there are moments when we talk about men of other cultures and things like that. But let's be honest, when a man looks a certain way and he decides to operate in his masculinity, he is an enemy of the state. He's an enemy of the government. The state killed men and reversed the nature of them. Willie Lynch letter, 1712. We have evidence from at least 1712 of it being documented. Obviously, we have more, right? But we have evidence that anybody who is masculine within their culture and it doesn't fit into this Eurocentric vibe, you are automatically somebody's taken out. And so the truth about our men is kind of difficult to deal with because if we be honest, we don't want to even, like, watch this, y'all who believe in this right here, the Bible. Allow me to give you a verse that you've never heard of before, right? Allow me to give you a verse that you've never want. And let me make sure. I don't know why it's, oh, sorry. Hold on one second, y'all. Okay, yeah, I had it right. First Kings chapter 21 and verse 21. Right? Here's a verse in your Bible that tells you how important the man is. There's a whole bunch of verses, of course. However, I want to give you a verse that we don't even think about. This is how simply put it is. And how you doing, Sister Deborah? And how you doing, Elion? This is something simply put, right in front of your face. How you doing, Sister Alstrom? Right? Here we go. You ready for this? First Kings 21 and verse 21. It says, behold. That means pay attention. Whenever you hear behold, it means pay attention. So behold, pay attention to what? Behold, I will bring evil upon thee and will take away thy posterity and will cut off from Ahab him that pisseth against the wall. I didn't curse. That's what it says. It says, I will take anything that pisseth against the wall. That means continues to pee against the wall. Who pees against wall? Who stands up when they urinate? Okay. And him that is shut up and left in Israel. So the Most High is telling you, if you're going to deal with taking out a family, you got to kill this. You got to kill the one who pisseth against the wall. How you doing, Sister Kelly? You got to take away the one that pees and urinates standing up, right? You got to take away the one. There's an attack. If you want to take out the people, you kill off the men. I know you always think it's kill off the men, women, and children, and sometimes it is. However, if you look at how a lot of attacks work, they will kill off Romans. Did that all the time. Matter of fact, if you check out what Romans say about their own story, their own start, their own origins, they said they really didn't have that many women because they mistreated women. They were killing themselves. Women were considered to be weak. So what do? You go and you conquer somebody else. You kill off the men. You take their women as slaves, and the slaves eventually become their wives. And that's why romanticized viewpoints, they basically enslave their wives. You kill off anything that pisses against the wall, and now the woman will now, because she needs some kind of security, and she also needs to be able to have some kind of protection for her seed, and she might not have even had the chance to have children. Guess what? She might have to bow down because you kill off the man. And see, even though we don't go through the physical attacks now, right? How you doing, Brother TJ? Even though we might not go through the physical attacks the way we used to, we still are going through attacks. Are we not? Come on, somebody, right? Like we might not go through the physical attacks anymore, but we're still being attacked. Anything that pisses against the wall. Oh yeah, Willie Lynch letter, of course. Yeah, we have a whole thing on the Willie Lynch letter. We're probably gonna have to bring it back at some point. We might have to make it like a podcast version of it only or something like that, but we're gonna have to bring it back at some point. They got mad at us last time we talked about it, but it's still up on Facebook. If you look up on our Facebook page, you should be able to find it. Right, but anyone who pisseth against the wall, that's talking about a specific individual, a specific group, right? Do you know that even when it comes to crib deaths, do you know that more boys are going to die than females at an alarming rate, right? Even in crib deaths, the enemy is not looking, and I'm not saying he's not looking for women. He's looking to do certain things with a woman, but he's looking to kill a man. You have to eradicate, right? Matter of fact, this is something that might mess with some people and moderators. I guess you might have to be ready because I told you, I don't know where we're going today. I'm just going to be led, right? We're going to see where it happens. How you doing, Michael? You said you had to switch over to TikTok. Just stop. Yeah, TikTok been doing some odd stuff. So, but thank you for having the mind to come over. And how you doing, Firstborn? And thanks for being part of the community, right? If you look at Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, if you know who she is, look up some of her stuff and you'll discover she talks about the mindset that one has to have to enslave a people. And she even talks about if somebody's going to be forced, because we act like only women are forced sexually to do things against, their will, but also men are. And sometimes it's not just by other men. Men are sometimes forced by women, right? Even especially in chattel slavery times, right? And And even in breeding camps, right? Let's not forget our sisters were put in breeding camps. Who do they have to breed with? Brothers. Okay. So when you have these things coming together, even when you're growing, she talks about if a man's going to be forced into that, doing something against his will sexually, oftentimes it's going to be very difficult to get him to actually get committed or be erect, if you will. I know we have different age groups that watch this stuff, so I'll be careful with my language, but it'll be different. It's difficult if a man is stressed or if a man is scared, if he's nervous, he might not even be able to get, his phallus to stand to attention, if you will, right? However, a sister, even if she's scared, anxious, or whatever, can still be impregnated. So she talks about the mindset that even when you're going to force the man, how you doing, Sister Cynthia? She talks about Dr. Francis Cress Welsing talks about this mindset to where even if a man is going to be forced, you can't really secure or guarantee. But who can you do? You can do that with the woman, right? And so our sisters, are people that are there that they need to stay around, but you can kill the man off and still have your sister, or have the sister, have the queens, have the woman to still have a version of that man, right? They even said the Willie Lynch letter, put as many drops of good, and I'm quoting, good white blood. Try to see if you can put it in the N-word woman or the N-word female, and see if our sisters could, in fact, give them different versions of themselves, but really different versions of Black men as well. Remember that in the same Willie Lynch letter, he says we want to take the mindset away, but we want to keep the body, right? So how do you take the mindset of a people? Even with buck breaking, things like that, of course, right? How do you take the mindset of a people? If the woman's number one need is to feel secure, and the man's number one need is to be respected, if I take away the man, even if the people feel secure now underneath somebody else's regime, it means the people have no respect, which at some point allows them to live in a false sense of security for the rest of their existence. I'm going to say that again a few times and maybe in a few different ways so you can catch that. How you doing, user 718? If a man's number one need is respect and a woman's number one need is security, and I take the man out and I reverse the nature where he now runs around scared, is only there for labor intensive stuff and for breeding, and then I have the woman there to be the strong, independent woman. That's what Willie Lynch said. He literally said, now you have a strong, independent woman. We think this is something that we came up with. That's not our slogan. So your slave masters told you to do that, right? So now you have a strong, independent woman who will raise her children in reverse, in fear that what she saw happen to her man will happen to her son or even her grandson. So she'll raise her daughters to train her son to do the same thing she's going to train her son to do, right? Now we have a false sense of security and we have zero respect. I'm not here to tell you that women shouldn't be respected. I said the number one need of men is going to be respect. What do they say? You don't hear me. I feel like you don't hear me. I feel like you don't listen. What he's saying is you don't respect what I have to say. He's not even saying, listen, you have to follow everything that I say. He said, at least listen. And that's what he's saying, right? How you doing, Ross Blade? Right? Blessings to you, bless up, right? So he said, at least bare minimum, what you could do for me. How you doing, Heenbug? The least you could do is listen. He's saying, I don't feel respected. How you doing, Big Brother Vincent? He said, the least you could do for me is respect me. And by the way, Brother Vincent, who's on, it's time to leave America with the 3Ks he has. Please go and follow, check him out, what he does. He puts out a lot of great stuff out. I don't put videos out almost at all anymore, but he puts a lot of great stuff out. So please feel free to follow him and check him out and boost him up as much as you can. But these are the things that are there. These are the things that we have to be real about, right? Is that we have this thing where we're trying to figure out as a people, why is there no respect? But if we don't respect our men, then why would anybody respect you as a people? How you doing, Positive Vibration? Thanks for being on. Off Grid. How you doing? How you doing, Nina? Right. So the truth about our men, like we talk about men in general, but we act like all men are going through the same thing. It's like when they talk about feminism. Stop talking about the feminist movement when they're trying to apply it to our women, when our women are represented in the feminist movement. Well, stop talking about the patriarchy when our men aren't even represented in the patriarchy. A lot of our men wish And by the way, it's not just black men only when I say our men in that regard, because all honesty, there's a lot of poor white men that wish that they fit that bill too. You know, there's a lot of them too that are not in position and have to be debt slaves and stuff as well, or don't have to be, but have been made to be. Right. So we have to figure out, like, who are we talking about? When you say patriarchy, I'm not part of the patriarchy. When you say, well, as an American, you do. I'm not even an American. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not an American. I got sense enough to know it. Well, what do you mean? Well, when it comes to it, I bet that you don't treat your wife with respect. I mean, y'all who know my wife, you can ask her. She's come on here. She'll probably be in the chat a little later. She's trying to get some rest. Like, we make this assumption that everybody, how you doing, Queen Sheva? Everybody has to be part of the patriarchy, when the reality is the patriarchy ain't signing everybody up. You ever thought about that? Like, where do I sign into the patriarchy? Where do I sign up for the patriarchy? Is it possible for me to sign up? Are they taking brothers like me? Are they just giving us money? Like, can I just sign up and will somebody give me $100 billion so I can start making these decisions? Will somebody give me a million? Will somebody give me enough land to make sure that I can go ahead and build up stuff and then only allow a certain type of people to live there and have only other people work for them on that land? Am I part of the patriarchy? You said is state national status bad? State national status, I'm not sure what that is. Are you talking about like non-citizen national or being a state citizen? I mean, a state citizen's all right. It's better than being a federal citizen. State citizen actually means that you're saying that you have the rights protected by the United States. Hello, Shalom, how you doing? But people are on here, trying to say that, oh yeah, because there's a patriarchy, every man is a part of it. But how can I be a participant of something that doesn't even accept me? This is why I've had to come out of this mindset. I have to come out of this thinking. I must protect my wife, my daughter, my sister, my mother, my grandmother, my aunties, our women. I must protect you, but I cannot protect you from within the system. How can I protect you from within the system if the system's against you? I have to be in the system, but not of it. I've come out of it. And that's why I can actually talk about these things, because I can look at what a sister has to say, because the system tells me that, hey, the sister, she's just talking. She's just a victim. Just get over it, this and that, or whatever. You said you saw the abuse in prison system. Our men are being sexually assaulted in these prisons. Yeah, that too. And we'll get to that. That'll probably pop up. Said that we need to repent, come back to the Most High so He can heal us. Well, exactly. It starts first with an acknowledgement, though, that you're in a system that you got to come out of. Using the same type of mindset, we have to come out of the land of our captivity. Right? If we're going to go to Revelation, start with Revelation chapter 12. I mean, you can start really with Revelation 1, Revelation 1:3, Revelation 1:14 and 15, Revelation 2:9, Revelation 3:7 through 9. But how about Revelation 7? Israel must be sealed before anybody can even be grafted in. But how about Revelation chapter 12? Israel has to be able to go to a place to where we are able to be protected by the Most High. You're trying to live in the land of your captivity and asking for full protection. You can't get full protection and still be in the same system. You can't get full protection and still be in the same system. You said the book you're reading, Land of the Free Home of the Slave, quoted about American citizen versus federal. Well, it can be American citizen, but really what you're going for is even non-citizen, national, or sovereignty. Some people want to say they want to get more status. That's kind of iffy because a lot of people that sign up for it, they don't do it correctly, but you can do it. Some people talk about getting indigenous status, but even if you get indigenous status and you're talking about your tribe and even trying to talk about going back to your land, the land is basically a territory. A reservation is basically a territory. Territory is something that's owned anyway. So if you want to say it's owned by the nation, that whatever nation you're going by, Wampanoag, Choctaw, Iroquois, Haudenosaunee, Khalifa, the list goes on and on. You still have to be aware of, well, then what are your people doing? And that's what we're talking about. Even if we're going to come away as a people, what's the mindset? And our focus today, once again, is the truth about our men. Because you can have our men go and get some land, but if he still thinks and with romantic values, then he'll still treat his woman like romantic people do. Roman antics, romantic, right? That's what he'll do. How you doing, Sister Kimberly? He will treat her exactly the way that his master does. And we should all have a master or a teacher, but does that teacher teach us culture, right? The Most High, prayerfully, is the master of masters for you. That will help you along the journey. And you'll have Ravak HaKodash, she, the Holy Spirit, will be able to help and bless you on these things through the example of the Son, the physical manifestation of Yahweh, Yahshua Mashiach, or Yahshua HaMashiach, depending on which, dialect you want to go into. But we have to realize that we're dealing with a lot of things. Oh, okay. Well, thank you for the love. I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm sorry I'm dealing with many different people and things like that, but thank you. I appreciate the love. Thank you for your likes, your shares, those who help us do things in the community, those worldwide to help us do things, those who are taking time out to listen in. We appreciate you. If you're on YouTube, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, even hit the notification tab. And those who continue to sow in many different ways and bless your communities and come together on a regular basis, physically, wherever you might be, we thank you, appreciate you. All right. I apologize if I don't catch every single person on here who sends, et cetera. But we literally have 4 different platforms that I'm either looking at or speaking into at this moment. All right. But thank you. We appreciate you. So, and all those things we're talking about, we have to get to a mindset and get to a place where if we're going to talk about our men, first things first, stop talking about them from within a perverted system. And when I say a perverted or a perverse system, it means literally a system that is not hitting the mark. To sin means to miss the mark. So if you pervert something, it means that it started off correctly when you pull back to aim. But as it gets closer to the target, you'll find out, oh, it's not actually going towards it. It looks like it's going towards it, but as you get closer, right, it's actually going off. As it gets closer, it's actually going off. It's not going to hit the target. And so we have a target we're trying to hit that is more than conqueror, yet we're trying to train men to live as conquerors. Conquerors have a false sense of credit. What do you mean by that? What I mean is that they have a false sense of credit. Credit should be, I already paid for it, and whatever I do is already paid for. Just take out what I paid, right? When you say Yahshua, and some of you still say Jesus paid it all, what you're saying is that he already has a credit. You just take from what's there, and his credit is eternal. It's a payment you couldn't make. You couldn't afford eternal payment, so you would have had to slave away to make up for what you're missing. But there's an eternal credit. But see, in the world, now what is credit? Credit means, can you go into debt? Because it's not a credit. You're using somebody else's credit. You're using somebody else's credit. Somebody else is paying money that, by the way, doesn't exist, because they never put money in your hand and there's no gold or silver to back it up. It is numbers on the screen. But because somebody told you that that's how credit works, you now are even looking for men with good or great credit. And the reality is you don't need credit to even buy a house. You need capital. You can do a bill of exchange for a house. How you doing, Lorraine? Right? If you know how stuff works, you can take people that bought houses with cryptocurrency. I mean, you can do a bill of exchange. You can use anything. If somebody wants your car bad enough, if you got a nice enough car, they might give you one of their houses for your car. Right? Thanks for being part of the communities at 61, Michael. Appreciate you. How you doing, Prince? But we have this bad sense of things. Our men, you're looking for a man with great credit. And credit means he has to be great at going into debt and paying off his debt. And you're thinking as long as he pays his credit off and goes into debt, that means he's better than a lot of men because he has good credit. No, that just means he goes into debt really well. Well, that means in order for him to get a debt limit or a credit limit, because that's really what it is, a debt limit, but there's no limits to debt, right? But as long as you're in debt, you're a slave. Anybody who's a slave is in debt. Anybody who's in debt is enslaved. So you get this debt limit or this credit limit. You're like, oh, well, he has to work really hard to do that or whatever. Well, fine. Guess what? What if he worked really hard and he saved the money? And instead of trying to ask somebody to get up to like a $200,000 credit limit or some loan, what if he just saved up $200,000 and then he bought it and then he never had to worry about it anyways? Because you think that Equifax and TransUnion and whatever the other one is, you think that they actually are the credit people, when reality is there's only one credit person, the federal government. You got to go to them. They have a website and everything. All these things you're getting, they're based on what the federal government says. That's it. So if you want to check out what it is, check out who your taxes go to. Because whoever you pay taxes to, you're in debt to. Right? But you have a mindset that a man It's synonymous with good credit because you believe that because you've been taught that going into debt very well means that he's positive. But debt is something that's a bad thing, right? You said it has a totally different meaning when you say, a debt limit. Yeah, right. And there's no limit to debt. Yeah, for sure. Right. And it takes a lot of, like we said, and thanks for being back on, bucking the system. Like it takes a lot of what? Dedication, discipline. The truth about our men is that we need discipline. Now watch this. Who's disciplined? Right. If we want to be real with it, right? I'm raising a man. I'm raising a man. I'm in the middle of raising a man. Done raised men before. And technically, as far as spiritual accountability, I raise a whole bunch of men constantly and consistently, right? While making sure that I have somebody who's still raising me because I'm still a little boy in this too. I'm only 40 years old, right? However, I'm raising a man. I promise you that man, he's in little boy form right now, but in every man is a boy and every boy is a man. And so I'm raising a man. And as I'm raising this man, right, I had to make sure he's disciplined. He has to do scripture every day. He was reading scripture when before he could really talk like that. He could at least recite scripture, right? I'm raising a man first and foremost, right? I'm not raising. See, this is why we need men to come back into the not acknowledgement of who they are. Malachi chapter 4. Everybody always goes to Malachi only to talk about tithes and offering in chapter 3. Rarely will they even talk about it's giving you, it's telling you about Yahshua and Yohanan or John the Baptist and who you got. Some of you still call Jesus and stuff like that. But you won't read the end of Malachi chapter 4, verse 6. And the interesting part about that is after that in your Bible, there is a 400, you said wax on, wax off. After Malachi chapter 4, verse 6, there will be a 400-year silence as far as pen to paper. As far as what most of us are going to read in the Bible, you will find that there's going to be a 400-year silence between Malachi 4:6 and Matthew 1:1 or Mark 1:1 or Luke 1:1 or John 1:1. Okay, there's going to be a 400-year silence. A lot of people don't know that. And guess what happens? 400-year silence. Interestingly enough, we always talk about 400 years for us as a people. Well, there's going to be 400-year silence. Right? Appreciate you. Thanks for being on, Sherry. What does it say right before a 400-year silence? Malachi chapter 4, verse 6. It says that the hearts of the fathers, that means love, the passion of the fathers, are going to have to return to the children, and the hearts, the passions of the children are going to have to return to the fathers. And is it not interesting that the enemy, as you got closer to the end of your 400 years, started attacking the hearts of the fathers toward their children and the hearts of the children towards their fathers? Y'all don't want to hear this, but this is real talk. Right? Somebody gonna try and say, well, this is bad and this don't make sense, you don't like it. But we want to give you not just facts, we want contextual facts. We want to give you context with facts and facts with context. Is it not interesting that as your 400 years was starting to come up to a close, right? As your time of perpetual servitude, as you started to see people get enlightened, as you saw people say, we need to wear our own stuff and speak our own language and do things, they started to attack the hearts of the fathers toward their children, and they started to attack the hearts of the children toward their fathers. That's the problem. I'm not saying that there's not children that don't grow up without mothers. I'm not saying that women shouldn't be taken care of. That's why, once again, we had a whole session talking about the truth about our women. Today, though, we need to talk about our brothers, because the truth about the matter is that you keep looking at us like we're patriarchy, but in the patriarchy, they respect the father. Even when the father is garbage, they respect the father. You know how I know? Because I grew up around a whole bunch of white children. I was a token at one point in my life and was proud of it. Right? Got to go to all the nice stuff and the restaurants, and got to go on the long trips that other children couldn't afford because somebody else's parents would help my family out and stuff like that. Had a hardworking father. He worked 2.5 jobs. Had a father in my life. My mother was in my life, although she was slowly passing away from multiple sclerosis. But we were tight knit. We were doing what we needed to do. I was doing what I felt was necessary. And I thought, hey, being a token, I get to go over to white child's house. Their mamas let them smoke weed there and everything. And we got to do New Year's celebration in their house and stuff and just get totally jacked up and everything. But I'm telling you from experience, I never noticed until I became an adult, even after I got out of the military years later. I never even realized one time, not once did I ever realize that I hung out around a whole lot more white boys and girls who did not have fathers in their lives than I did black boys and girls. That's what, and statistics show, I'm not telling a lie. Statistics actually show that even in the West, black men, even if they're not married, are more involved in their children's lives than any other denomination of people, whatever you want to call it, right? But when I was growing up, I was hanging out with the rich white families, or what I would consider to be rich back then. But hey, I mean, shoot, even single mothers, they were rolling different than some of the single black mothers. I was going up in the townhouses. I was going up on properties. I was going across the country with them and seeing stuff or whatever. And I promise you, like, a whole lot of them never knew their father, never said anything about it though. I don't remember them talking about baby daddies. I don't remember them talking about, my father is trash. I don't remember them saying white men is stupid and trash and all of them are dogs, right? I don't remember any of that. Even if that's what the mother felt, I don't remember hearing. I don't remember hearing any of that from all these people I was hanging around. It took me till I was an adult because they never talked bad about it. So I used to literally assume, because in our community, I go back to the apartment complex, and then the bottom of it was like our hood, and the top of it was like kind of nicer because they tried to make it look nicer up top for people who wanted to come in and get apartments. But when you go to the back, I mean, you had crack and everything in the back. You go to the front. I was afraid to go down to the back, like, because one time literally I went down there and there were like older women out there asking me if I knew where so and so was, and then basically like even one of them propositioning me, and I'm about 9, 10, so like I wouldn't even go. I lived the rest of my teenage years in that area, and or the rest of my teenage years in that area before I left and went into the military at 17. And I would not go to the back of the same neighborhood I lived in because I knew you don't go back there, right? People would always say it, but others who live back there, and you always hear stuff. And you would always hear, yeah, my father ain't, my daddy don't do this. Even if the father would live with them, man, black men, you know how we are. We really ain't. You hear us as little children talking about that. You never heard that in their community, but their fathers weren't even there. My father, he just come around, but my mama be telling me he ain't really, he come around with his visitation, but it ain't like he in my life all the time. But he was, at least your father was trying to be there. But I never heard that about the other people's family. And then come to find out, I didn't think about it until I read statistics later on. I was like, wait a minute. When they say black fathers are the most involved, I was like, even though we still got a problem not being in our children's lives, that ain't a lie. Matter of fact, we were still, over 50% of us as families, we're still going to have the mother and father still living together as husband and wife, or if not, living in the same house. In our culture, if you're having sex, that's marriage. But nevertheless, if you just want to say you're living in the same house together, you would still have the mother and father living together up until the 80s. What happened in the 80s? There was an attack on our community. It was called crack cocaine. Who sold the crack? Fathers. Who went to jail? Fathers. Who wasn't there for their children? Fathers. Who do we see fall apart in front of us? Fathers. We had an attack on the heart. And so what needs to happen is the hearts of the fathers, that's the passion, the love, right? The hearts of the fathers got to return to the children, and the hearts of the children have to return to the fathers. This stuff is going to be father first. The father is supposed to be the security. Your sister, as we talked about with the truth about our women in that part of the series, your sister doesn't feel secure because there aren't any fathers. Don't just be a man. Be a man who's a husband, and don't just be a man who's a husband. Be a man who's a husband who's willing to be a father. Even spiritually, you should be a father. And fathers protect. You said you feel you tell your father the government, your dad, government assistance help ruin black community. Yeah. But also, too, government assistance was there before us. But when they realized that a disproportionate amount of us, percentage-wise, were black people getting on government assistance, they started changing the game. Remember, government assistance was fine when it was just white folk out there that needed it. But when black people started saying, hey, we hurting, and they started asking for the same thing, they went to the same system that's supposed to help everybody. But what did that system say? Ooh, it's supposed to be a system for just white people. We got to change the rules. And I'm not trying to say all white people believe this, but what I'm saying is enough do. And I know it's a social construct. Yes, a social construct, something that has been constructed that now has manifested into something that we deal with every single day. You said if only y'all knew what I went through. That with you, 16-year-old daughter and her father. Wow. Praying for you. Hope everything's well. If you need to talk about it, let us know. Amen. Yeah. And so it's the hearts of the fathers that need to return to the children. And then guess what's happened? Now the children disrespect the fathers. The children just automatically assume, oh yeah, fathers ain't nothing anyways. It was only a matter of time before he left. That's how we're trained now. Yeah, we have to speak life. That's a great way of saying it, Sister Alston. Right? We have to speak life back into these men. See, you think that just because a man is alive, that he's living. May I say that again? Somebody need to hear that in the back. You think because a man is alive that he's living. That's what you think. You think that because a man is alive that he's living. Salah. Pause and think about it. Right? Once again, you think that since a man is alive, that he must be living. Yahshua said the enemy comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. What does he say though? He says, but I have come that you might have life and more abundantly. So wait a minute, I was alive, but you said I was being killed, stolen from, killed off, and destroyed. So is it possible that I as a man can be walking around with my identity stolen, with no life in me because I've been killed, and I've already been destroyed? My masculinity doesn't matter. Is it possible? Is it possible that my whole life, amen, Brother TJ, my whole life is about toiling for somebody else and hoping that somebody will respect the hustle? Like that's all a lot of men are really even looking for nowadays. We're not even looking to be a society where men come together to secure. We're just like, man, respect my hustle. Respect my hustle. And that's why I got to applaud hustle at a disproportionate level, because we won't even give a man respect for hustle. I mean, he get up every day. He grinding every day. I don't care if the man go to the street corner and he hustle up and he's selling socks out of a bag, hats out of a bag, single cigarettes, doing whatever because he don't want to work for somebody else. At least he can take care of his bills. Right? You're supposed to find a man in his work first. His work is more important than his woman, because before a woman existed, work existed. See what I said? The problem is not that these little boys are not being trained to be what you consider to be men. They're not even being disciplined. Who cares if you know what wisdom is, Proverbs chapter 1, verse 2, but you don't listen to the wisdom. You're not disciplined by it, Proverbs chapter 1, verse 3. Therefore, you have no equity. What does an equitable man look like? What is a man who's able to have equity, an equitable man? What does that look like? And even the men that did us wrong, that did us dirty, whatever the case might be, did he even see it? Had he had an example that he could put his fingertips on and say, that's it? See, a lot of us, our examples came from far away. Malcolm did it. Martin did it. Medgar did it. Amos did it. Nipsey did it. Pac did it. But that's not your father. That's not your daddy. And they didn't have time to become spiritual daddies for you or father figures for you to where they could do it for you every day. So even some of them, I give the example all the time. My father, I believe to be one of the greatest fathers to ever exist. However, my father, when he gave me whoopings sometimes, spankings, but really, we whip people because of the mindset we have. So when he never whipped me for no reason or spanked me for no reason, but when he did spank me, it was oftentimes overboard. I don't even say every time. Oftentimes, it was overboard enough to where it was an abusive type relationship. Okay? And so, in that type of relationship, hear what I'm saying? And so, in that type of relationship, I thought that, oh, he must hate me, this, that, whatever, right? And it was my mother who stepped in and started stepping in eventually at some point. Didn't help too much, but she started stepping in. But it was my mother who had to pull me to the side and say, hey, do you know about your grandfather? Now, in my mindset as a little child, grandfather was just this guy who sat in the chair and he was quiet. And he seemed to be smiling all the time, watching us run around as grandchildren. And eventually he lost a leg, and so he was weak and he was diabetic, and then he wouldn't eat right. And ended up losing the arm, and then he ended up losing, I think, another arm as well, or something like that, because he was the first person I ever saw die. And I remember seeing his body as they were preparing it for the funeral, because my father couldn't get anybody to babysit me on that day. So I had to come with him. And I probably wasn't supposed to look, but I think I ended up running up next to him, trying to figure out what was going on. And that was the first person I ever saw dead. That was the first dead body. And I remember that, but that's what I remember about him. Just this peaceful guy, this and that, or whatever. And even remember death and thinking, wow, that's kind of wild that somebody would, that you think would be in peace and all that stuff would just die. Come to find out, my grandfather was horrid when it came to disciplining children. They couldn't stand my grandfather. They loved him, but couldn't stand him. Y'all know how that go, right? Couldn't stand him. Thought that he was going to come and do this and that or whatever. And so after he finished that, that's right. So after my mom finished telling me some of the levels of stuff they went to, like literally my grandfather, he was a veteran. And so he had PTSD. And so like if they snapped, like literally when they snapped the bread, they got like this bread, like I don't know if it was cracking bread or whatever it's called, but when they would snap the bread, you break it to eat it. And everybody had to break it at the same time. All the children had to snap it at the same time. If any of the children snapped it and it made a ripple, instead of it sounding like snap, it sounded like snap, 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 something like that. Somebody was gonna have to get it. Like that's the anxiety that he grew. So my father was way better than that. But in my mind, I'm thinking he's terrible because he's not necessarily doing that. So guess what? If I'm not careful, I'll be honest with you, I started off thinking that's what it's going to be. It's going to be these whoopings. It's going to be blah, blah. But before I could really get there with my children, I had to realize, wait a minute, hold on. Who gets to break the chain, right? And you know what really started helping me with that? My father was the type of person, never said I love you growing up, stuff like that. Guess what? I started calling him. When I was stationed in Pearl Harbor, I started calling him on the phone and started saying, I love you at the end of every conversation. That was for me to break the curse. That was for him to hear what his father never said to him. That was for me in hopes at one point, even though I thought of myself, he may not ever say I love you back, and that's fine. But I was saying it for those reasons. And guess what happened? He started to say, not even when I was stationed, years later, got grandchildren now, all this stuff. Years later, he now starts saying, I love you back, right? But once again, Malachi chapter 4, verse 6, before the 400-year silence, the hearts of the fathers, it tells you specifically, what do you need to happen? Why does Yahshua show up? Who's supposed to be the embodiment of the Father on earth, whose heart, whose passion, who he says, I do the will of the Father that sent me. What has to happen? He says, in order for things to get better, the hearts of the fathers have to return to the children, and the hearts of the children, they're going to have to come back to the fathers. That's how crucial this is, right? It's generational healing, right? Your father, your grandfather, your great-grandfather, they had themselves taken away from themselves. Can you imagine that? You probably can, because you're coming back to knowledge of self, but they had themselves taken away from themselves. You said you broke the chain with whippings, and your daughter said she's going to do what she wants because you taught, And by the way, a spanking is something that you can give. Matter of fact, if your child needs one, but giving a spanking out of anger, don't do that. Bible says, don't do things while you're in wrath or in anger. If you need to, it says don't spare the rod. Spare the rod, spoil the child. I'm not saying that you don't have to touch them at all. Maybe you have a child you don't have to touch. My sister, she got one spanking on her leg one time. That was it. She knew what was up. Right? Like she got a tap on the leg when she was younger. And even though she got away with some things, I mean, all children get away with some things, but she knew what was up. But if you have a child that needs something, you might have to correct the behavior in different ways. Right? So just because I was hard-headed and I was literally somebody who would try and get in somebody's face if I thought I was tall, my father had to sometimes bring me back down. Because if he hadn't, I was trying to be like cats that I was hanging out with who now aren't in the same situation that I'm in as far as just breathing. So my father, I thank him for some of those, even if they might have gone too far by our standard, by our corrective standards. I would still say I'm thankful and grateful that I had a father in my life that was willing to do those things, right? But the hearts of the fathers, they got to return to the children And the hearts of the children are going to have to return to their fathers. You're not going to get your community on track if these men ain't right. Because I'm here to tell you, men, this is biblical. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 8. Fathers give instruction, mothers lay down the law. We got a lot of mamas out here. We got a lot of big mamas. We got a lot of Medeas out here. They lay down law all the time. But where's the instruction at? And people don't want to get it. Any woman can do what any man can do. No, you're not going to, because I can't do what any woman can do. You said some of your children's best lessons were not by the rod, a pop with a shoe. Gets the message across. Well, yeah, that's what it's talking about. A pop with the rod, or spare the rod, spoil the child. If you feel like you use a shoe, I mean, a shoe can be just as harmful as a rod if used correctly, right? A chancleta, especially those that know about the chancletas and seen those in action, right? So what we were saying is, long story short, like, I'm not saying physically you have to go out and get a stick and cane your child, because even that's abusive. What I'm saying is, it's talking about sheep, right? This is what Yashua said, right? When we're talking about a shepherd, a lamed, a lamad, we're talking about a shepherd, right? A shepherd is a teacher. A shepherd is a instructor. It moves. It's not just only somebody who gives commands, but also teaches, right? The Lord is my shepherd. It's saying the Lord is even my teacher. That's why he maketh me to lie down in green pastures. That's a disciplinary act. Did you know that? He makes you. You got people that would raise their children and say, I'm not going to make you do anything. No. The Lord makes you sometimes. You heard what I'm saying? Like, sometimes he will make you. Like, there are times that I don't want to do what I'm being told by Yahweh. I'll be honest with you, I know pastors ain't supposed to admit that to you. There are times that he tells me to do something and I do not want to do it. Right? But he makes me. He will make a situation where I don't really have any choice. If I'm going to follow his will, and I say I'm going to follow his will, he's going to give me, either you're going to get outside my will or you're going to go this way. So sometimes he will make you, but what does he do? To lie down. The making you is to get you to be in a place of rest, to rest inside of that which he has created for us. That is what Shabbat or Sabbath really is in the first place. He will make you to lie down, to rest inside. Right? The only thing that brings Yahweh out of rest is what? Is sin. So he makes things up to where you are in a position where you have to be able to rest inside of what he's created for you. And then he makes me to lie down what? In green pastures. Where I am, where I'm lying down, and it's healthy. It's healthier to lie down in green grass than it is to lie down in dead grass. It's healthier to eat green grass than it is to eat dead grass. Right? So he's making things and putting you through things. Some of you going through positions. He's even having some of us as fathers have to re-go through things to do some of this stuff that we didn't see our fathers do. He's making us. He's making a situation where you're not going to have any choice. You're going to break this curse. Well, we do it on Saturday because we're still in the land of our captivity. But, depending on what year it is and how the calendar works, Shabbat can be on different days. It's not always every seventh day. However, he maketh us. He makes us to do what? To lie down. Sit yourself down. It then leads us beside the still waters. Still waters are calm waters. They're peaceful waters. There's still flow. There's still current, but it's not rapids. It's still. It's peaceful, right? And then he can do what? Restoreth our soul. Right? The soul is the psyche in the Greek, Psyche. That's the psyche. So when you go to a psychologist, you're going to somebody who's dealing with the logic of your soul or the study of your soul. So you don't have your proper logic. It's got to be restored. It's got to be restored. It has to be brought back into a storage container. That's what restore, bringing it back. If you go to a store and you buy a bunch of products, there's some people who work at the Walmart or work at the Publix or work at I don't care where it is, work at the Piggly Wiggly, work at the Safeway, work at the Giant, work at wherever you go. There's some people whose whole existence, all they do is restore, right? That's why there's a whole group of individuals we call truckers that literally do nothing else other than restore. The word psyche, Psyche, it just simply means soul. It can mean soul. It can mean breath. It can be the seat of your passions, right? But it definitely means soul. So So when you're dealing with the psyche, he restoreth my soul. It's saying that your psyche is off. All right, how you doing, Jairus? Like you don't know how to believe according to your own psychology. What is the psychology of Israel? Israelites, those grafted in, those who disagree, those who agree. What is the psychology of Israel? Have you ever thought about that? What is the psychology of an Israelite man? And what is the psychology of your current man? Oh, thank you, Henry. Appreciate you. Right? Think about that. You're asking for your brother, for your husband, for your fathers to be in tune with the psychology of the Most High. However, you want them to act like the world. Cognitive dissonance, double-minded. See, because it's the psychology or the soul. Some people even say place in the pineal gland, right? But the psychology or the soul, that's going to be what the spirit is attached to. If you want to know the spirit of a man, you must know the psychology or the soul of a man. And if you want the flesh to be attached to and to act right, you must know the psychology of a man. The soul, the psychology, the psyche is attached to the spirit, to the pneuma, to the ravak or ruach, and attached to the physical man at the same time. And you keep talking about other cultures that have a different type of soul for their community, a different type of psychology. How you doing, Brother Dennis? Thanks for being on. Right? Like the soul of the Greek is not the same as the soul as the African. The soul of the United States corporation is not the same as the soul as the sovereign. The soul of a woman, is not the same as the soul of a man. The problem now, this is where what needs to happen is that if you're going to be married, then what has to happen is that the man and the woman have to become one and slowly unite the soul. See, we're talking about stuff, but we're like fish out of water. By the way, if you take out a fish out of water, what happens? That's I love that. Let's stay there for a second. If I take a fish out of water, what's going to happen to the fish? Somebody help me. It's pretty simple, right? I know, don't look for the exceptions. I know there's a mud skipper and this and that, but even they can only go but so long without what I'm saying. So if I take a fish out of water, they will panic, they will flop, right? And they will eventually malfunction and die. Right? When they suffocate, when they panic, when doing all that, when they have anxiety, that is a malfunction. The fish can't function because they're not in what's created for them to function in. Why are these little boys floundering, killing each other? Why are these little boys anxious? They don't know who to listen to. Why are these little boys going in places and saying up there, even trying to become women because they've been told that they shouldn't function in masculinity? Why are they flounder? Because they're not in the water anymore. They're not in their psyche anymore. They're not in their community anymore. We don't even know what it is. We don't train them. So here he is flipping around. His psychology is off. The study, the logic, the study of of the psyche, of the soul. What is the soul of his people? Right? Of course he's malfunctioning. He's been told for so long that masculinity is evil. It's incorrect. It's wrong. It's bad. He's been told to mention that his color is beautiful is now bad because people say color doesn't matter, but it mattered all the time because he's had generations who were told and taught him to say that, hey, your color is bad, right? Get your hair straightened. Wear the zoot suit. Make sure that you get 9 to 5 like him. Make sure that you have the same type of business. Make sure that you move out of your community if you can move like him. Make sure you know that the white man's ice tastes better. He's been told that he ain't nothing for the longest time. Well, first things first, once again, bring him back to himself because it's not going to be a microwave fix. There's nothing going to be instant noodles, right? If it took, we just talk about hundreds of years. Technically, if it took thousands of years for him to get to this place, but if we want to just deal with hundreds, if it took him hundreds of years to get to this spot, it's going to take hundreds of years at least Remember, Willie Lynch told you, if we could just do this with the first generation and do it for 1 year, we won't have to do it to them anymore. They will do it to themselves for fear of what might happen if they ever try to go back to their nature. To go back to your nature is tough when somebody told you your nature ain't nothing. Right? It starts off with admitting that you have a problem. If you go to Alcoholics Anonymous AA meeting, what are they going to say? First things first, can you say, hi, my name is, which means you're going to authorize whatever statement comes next. And you're going to say, my name is what? Blah, blah, blah. And I am an alcoholic. I have to admit that I got a drinking problem if I'm going to stop drinking. Even if you don't go to AA, at some point you're going to have to admit that it's killing your liver. Like your body is not functioning right. Your eyes are not the color they're supposed to be. We can tell that you ain't acting right. You shaking at 4 a.m. hoping that you can go ahead and get to a corner store or whatever, hoping somebody will get you some alcohol if you got something hidden somewhere so that you can make sure that you can just function. Looking like you have Parkinson's disease or Parkinson's syndrome because you can't stop drinking. Right. Well, guess what? If I got a fish out of water that's flopping around, at some point I got to ask myself first, can I put the fish back in the water? Right. We keep saying, well, he's out here. And if he would just stop acting like a fish and he would fly like the eagles. If he would just get rid of those gills and he would just evolve. Even if you believe in evolution, you believe it takes millions upon millions of years for him to go from gills, that's how he gets his oxygen, that have to keep running against it. There has to be a current of flow, just like in your body, there has to be an electric current that flows as well. But there has to be a current that flows over and over again. But you say, oh yeah, if he would just act like those things that are on land, what are you talking about? Right? What are you talking about? That is a fish. That fish deserves water. It is not yet literally back into its element. I'm sorry, Javon. You said, indeed, I remember telling my father, I'd rather you punch me in the face than hit me with a belt again. Yeah, that it can be tricky. I've been punched in the chest. I say, it depends on the way that you're, being disciplined, or how your father, your family disciplined you. Well, even alcohol is known as a spirit. Yeah. So I still got to take him away from that spirit. And guess what? If I'm dealing with a spirit, it's not for us. If there's a spirit that says that you are second class just because of the way that you look, then guess what? We already got a problem. Right? We already know we got a problem. Like, we already know we got a problem. We need some AA meetings. We need some stuff where we get this stuff out. We need people to realize, and then watch what happens. After that, they say, cool, what do they give you? They give you a sponsor. Alcoholism can be passed down, sure. Alcoholism can be broken. There's many different reasons why alcoholism comes. There's people that never drank alcohol, their parents never drank, and they become alcoholics. So you got to ask yourself, like, what is the environment? The fish is floundering because it's not in its environment, right? There are dolphins that get beached. There are whales that get beached. There are orcas that get beached. There are sharks that get beached. If you're going to save them, you're not going to save them by letting them sit there. Do you know, like, if a dolphin, for example, which they say is, mammal and all this and everything, and teach you those things, right? You've been taught as a mammal. As a mammal, the dolphin can breathe outside the water, right? But the dolphin needs the water. Now, the dolphin doesn't just need the water because of what you think. The dolphin doesn't need the water for breathing. The dolphin needs the water because the dolphin's body is designed and where its organs literally lift up because of the water. It can take the water, right? Its organs will literally, because there's no water there, the organs will start to go ahead and come down and get crushed, one on top of the other. So you got to time. Even if the dolphin is breathing, the dolphin can't be on land. Right? The dolphin's body can't take it. So you got to get it back in the water with the quickness. Right? The shark has the same problem, but if the shark comes out, the shark is also a fish. So the shark can't breathe. So now you got a double problem where the shark ain't breathing right. And it's trying to get whatever through its gills. Right? And there you go. It's dealing with trauma. You're seeing the flopping. You're seeing this. You're thinking the shark might try to bite you, and the shark may. But you know the sharks are around people all the time and don't bite people as much as you might think. The shark starts trying to bite you because now it's anxious. It thinks anything coming towards you is going to try to bite you off. And congratulations on the sobriety. Amen. Right? That's a big step. Praise God for that. Right? So the shark is going to try to bite you. Why? The shark doesn't really bite people like that in the water unless it mistakes it for a seal or something like that. And sometimes they bite out of curiosity. But sharks ain't really walking around with this body count that we think they do. There's more hippos in Africa, in specific places in Africa, that kill people than sharks. Right? So, and by the way, people go to visit the hippos. So the hippos ain't even really looking for nobody. You come in their territory, they might get you. But sharks are all over the place, barely biting people, with relative speaking, right? Like, so if you don't really see shark attacks, but they'll attack you because they're on land, it's because that they're out of their element. They're freaking out. These little baby boys are shooting up other little baby boys because they're out of their element. They're freaking out. Right? Think about it. Think about it. This little boy is born into an environment where he's broke. His mama been broke. His mama's been broke. His daddy, he don't know. Everybody tells him go the straight way, go to school. His schools are the worst in the country. He's trying to hang in there. Finally, though, he keeps seeing his boys and them having little things of success, wearing a little chain, doing something like that. He goes in their house. They got video games, and their mama's kitchen looks better than everybody else's. And he's like, yo, how you do this? His boy says, man, I slang rap. I mean, should I continue to do it the righteous way where I'm barely passing school and I'm trying to do it the right way, but I can't even get my hands on books? I don't know how to read or write that well. Teachers don't care about us. Nobody's paying the school system. Heck, depending on where I am, I might not even have running water. And I might only eat every once in a while, even if mama makes sure that I got fresh kicks. For whatever reason, she won't make sure I got food in my stomach. Why would I not go? I'm out of my environment. My environment's supposed to be one where I'm trained to be a man and I'm protected. Right? Yeah, societal pressure. I'm protected. Right? It's not even peer pressure at that point. It's my peers are living better than me. They're not even bringing it. So, like, real talk, I tried to hang out with the thugs and stuff like that. They wouldn't let me because they said you got talent, you got potential. They won't. But if they felt like I wasn't going anywhere, guess what they would have done? Come on in, Kofi. We got you. This is what we do. This is how we do. Blah blah whatever. I tried to be like them. They was like, yo, bro, you don't even want this. No, man, I want it. No, man. They're like, no, I promise you don't want this. They didn't see themselves living past a certain age. They didn't see themselves being able to talk to somebody else and teach and to learn and to grow and to have an opportunity to be able to travel the world. They didn't see themselves. I wish they did. But I know now they didn't see themselves. So they'd rather make sure, yo, we can't let you in this. Y'all ever seen that movie? I mean, there's so many examples of it we can look at. What's that? It's an older movie, Akilah and the Bee. Y'all ever seen that movie, Akilah and the Bee? And Akilah's, is it her brother or her cousin or something like that? Her friend, whatever. She got a child as a boy, and he's teasing her about everything. And it's the gangster in the community, right? It's the gangster in the community. He's in the car, right? And he says, yo, chill out. I can't remember the scene exactly, so I might be slightly off on this, but I remember he's like, chill out. He said, and he's like, what you doing? He's like, oh, you reading them books and stuff? I heard you getting ready for the spelling bee. He's like, okay, keep doing what you're doing, right? And then they started supporting her, and she would start practicing with them. Like, so they would have the books open and stuff and be quizzing her and making sure she spelled the words right. Because they saw something in her, even if this is what used to happen in slavery time. Yeah, there's a culling point for recruits. There you go, right? Like, this is what happened even in slavery times. You know that when they talk about buying slavery or people buying their freedom, that was not a typical thing that happened. As much as people might want you to act like, oh, they could have just bought their freedom. No. Like, the whole community would usually end up spending money into whoever was going to buy their freedom over some years. So the community would look around and say, who's the one? Because that one is going to be where all their hopes and dreams go into. So they would all be sowing into this person knowledge, health, prayers, hugs, kisses, all that stuff. And they be like, yo, who's the one? Like, we know we're going to be in this for a minute. And even when the person gets free, hopefully they'll do some stuff to free us in the future or free our children or even our children's children. They'll be part of the process. But they will look, they say, yo, you can't be like us. So they would sow into them. They would all then give their money in. And then that person would take the money to buy that freedom. And when that person walked around, he had a sense, he had a heart of his people, because he was like, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for their sacrifice. See, that's the discipline of a community that was supposed to go into a man. That's what Frederick Douglass walked away with, or ran away with, however you want to put it. But he walked away with a sense of community. Everything I do, and yes, Frederick Douglass, after his black wife died, he didn't divorce her, but after she died and he was lonely at the end of his life, he married a white woman. Hey, that's his business, whatever. Some people try to go there with Frederick Douglass. I just cut that off here because it doesn't mean that he didn't do a lot of stuff. You wouldn't have had a freedman bank if it wasn't for Frederick Douglass, and it wouldn't have lasted as long as it did if he didn't almost go bankrupt trying to keep it up when they cut it off. Right? Hear what I'm saying? Right? You see what I'm saying? Like you got to be honest about this stuff that's happening, right? But we don't have, once again, a community. So the truth about your man is that he's not disciplined. He's not even disciplined in his own water. You're trying to discipline a fish on land, and you're getting mad at the fish that's not on land. Matter of fact, some of you were trying to say, well, I'll just throw him back in any water, but that's a saltwater fish. Of course he's dying in fresh water. It's a surprise that he lasted 10 years. He was supposed to have been dead the second that he went in the water. And you think because he's alive, you call it a miracle. The reality is he's hanging on. It's a miracle that he made it through. He's hanging on for dear life. Fine, it's miraculous. Now stop forcing the hand of Yah for miracles and put him back in the environment that Yah created him for. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm gonna just put the fish in water. You know, it's water. You should be happy that it's water. If you don't like this water, you can go back wherever you came from. Fine, put me back. I need the salt water. I didn't want fresh water in the first place. you hear what I'm saying? Some cultures, some animals, they can go from fresh water to salt water and back. That ain't us. Put me back where I go. Give me my food back. Right? Let me eat what I used to eat. Let me grow how I used to grow. Let me have the rites of passage I used to have. You growing up with these boys, no rite of passage. Salam. Pause and think about it. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. It's real talk. Hopefully this is blessing y'all. This is real talk. I don't know which way we're going with this today. I'm just following. I know we're going to talk about the truth about men. I don't really know where we're going to go. But we got to at least be honest. Like, these brothers ain't even in the right environment. You can't even honor them or judge them correctly because they're not even in a place you can judge them correctly. If you were to only judge Michael Jordan off of what he did when he was with the Barons trying to play for the Chicago White Sox, then you would probably think that Michael Jordan was a great athlete, but nothing more. Because he was a fish out of water. I know he used to play baseball, but guess what? He hadn't been in baseball in a minute. That wasn't his water anymore. Basketball was. So he tried, and he failed. Fish out of water. Same thing. Great basketball player. Give him a team to own. Every team he's been part of the ownership, ever since Chicago Bulls, even when he tried to play for another team, he tried. And he's been middle of the pack with the Washington Wizards. He was a middle of the pack player. He was one of the better scorers still, even at 20 points a game or whatever. That's one of the better scorers in the league. But he ain't 35 points, 37 points per game Michael Jordan no more. Now you can say he's older. Okay, sure, because his body's not ready for that. His body can't go into that water like it used to. But even as ownership, Washington Wizards, Charlotte Hornets, because he's out of water. He's out of his element. He was never trained for that. His whole thing was, I'm going to be better than you on the court. I'll just use my athletics better than anybody else. Okay, now when your athletics leave, what's the water? You thought that the water for you was playing sports. That's all you saw, was that you thought that was the water. But that's not all there is to man. To the point to where now you do stuff that sells your own people down the river. You don't make it easy for these boys to be clothed. You have these boys killing each other because they got to make sure that they're wearing $200, $300, $400, $500 pairs of Jordans. Now they can't even wear your J's for basketball because they're too expensive. Now they wear J's with suits. Amen, Sister Beverly. Yeah. Now they're wearing the J's with the suits. Because you can't pay no $500 for no shoes and then just go and go on the concrete. Shoot, I feel some kind of way. I wouldn't shoot nobody, but I would feel some kind of way too. Pay $500 for these shoes. You want to step on my shoes, right? And think about some of these boys that got to do it. I had to steal, I had to rob, I had to avoid the police officers, I had to make sure that I wasn't killed by the people that had to get their money to them and all that stuff. I did all that. Now I buy some J's. You gonna step on my stuff? I might feel a certain way. And if I've been told that instead of throwing my dukes, putting my hands up, or even speaking things out as men, hey, even doing the race back in the day, shoot, y'all remember in the 70s and 80s, if you was in a gang, and even in the early 90s, if you was in a gang, y'all might have a battle on the dance floor. Truth be told, you can be in the hardest gang or whatever. A lot of the gangsters, I know y'all know about that Cedric the Entertainer skit, but that's real talk. Like the hardest gangsters used to be the best dancers because we don't need to shoot you every single time for everything. Right? Like not everything needs to come to violence. Even in prisons, believe it or not, although there's a lot of violence in prisons, the people who are key holders or the people who are usually like the top gang member. For like every gang member, a lot of places, not all, but in a lot of the politics in prison, you got like the top. The key holder is like the top guy for the white gangs. The top guy for the black gangs, etc. Like that. Like the Crips, you'll be the black gang, but like the Hell's Angels will be the white gang, or you have what's the one they used to have a big contingency where I used to live, Mexican gang. I can't remember their name right now, but you have all these different gangs or whatever, right, set up, and you had to be part of them. You can't be in prison by yourself. If you're in prison by yourself, you get killed. Like it don't matter how nice you are with it, don't matter how. Like if you by yourself, you will die. Like there's very few people who go into prison by themselves unless they're protected, right? Like already. Very few people that are going into prison and making it out without being part of it. MS-13, that was the one I was talking about. Even though, well, they're still big. They're not the main ones we think of anymore with Mexican gangs. But yeah, MS-13 was real big where I was at. Had to be careful what time, even certain playgrounds. I took my child to the playground because it was MS-13 spray paint at the playground. So you knew you was in somebody else's territory. But anyways, if you go in those places, like you got to come together. Right. But even in there, they will try their best to talk things out. Because if there comes to a place to where whatever rival gangs you're with, if there comes a place, and it's not even about racism, by the way, that's just the weird rule. Like it's very ancient rules that they use in prison where all the races got a format. So there's still racism, but they will be friends. But if something goes down and it's time for your race to fight, guess what? You better fight. If something goes down and there's going to be a fight like sometimes they're just like, yo, this beef is something we can't talk it out or whatever. Somebody got to die. So that means two people got to go at it. And sometimes they'll even make sure the COs are okay with it. They'll be like, yo, y'all can come or whatever. Like it's known by the correctional officers. Y'all can come, but give us, we're going to need like 5 minutes to handle this. But Zulus even today, they don't fight like they used to or whatever, but they still are taught to fight, but they do a lot of dancing now. You're right about that. They're big in Louisiana. Okay. I don't know as much about Louisiana politics and stuff, especially on the streets. Yeah, you got Bloods too, Crips, rolling 60s. You got a lot of different stuff that's out there. Right. But I'm just saying, that there are a lot of things that are there. Even they comprehend, even in prison, as little killing as possible. People are gonna have to kill. Like, for example, if your paperwork ain't right, and paperwork basically ain't being right, it's gonna be one of two things. If you got a jacket basically is like, you got bad paperwork. So if you got a jacket, there's really only two things that happen as far as bad paperwork. Either you're going to be a child molester, and anything with child on the name makes you child molester. So even if like you were smoking like dope with a child and you got arrested, but they see child on your stuff, like they will say you got a jacket, you got to go, you got to get killed. And then basically like after that, if you snitch, those are the two things off top. Like even if you don't snitch or you don't have you didn't get in trouble with dealing with children, and somebody finds out that you did something, even to killing their family member, they may or may not kill you. They'll beat you up, but you don't have to die for that. As much as crazy as that sounds, because they're like, yo, that's just kind of the code. That's kind of the rule on the street. Y'all got in a fight. My cousin, my brother, my sister, whatever, they was in the gang, whatever, you ended up taking their life. I mean, they're like, okay, I might beat you down, might even do some wild stuff to you while you're in here, but maybe your life isn't required. Some people will take your life, but maybe your life is not required. However, However, like you mess with those two things, you a snitch. And by the way, like, somebody like they don't care, in there. It's a different mindset. That's why a lot of the cats out here who are old school rappers, they didn't want to hear y'all talk about Tekashi 6ix9ine and what they did. And I agree with y'all. Like Tekashi 6ix9ine, these people kidnapped, or kidnapped his girl. Then all of a sudden were sleeping with his girl after they kidnapped her. And so she had like Stockholm syndrome and stuff. They were messing around. They threatened his baby's life. They threatened his mother's life. They all this stuff or whatever. At some point, it's like, yo, how much loyalty is there? And even Tekashi, therefore, is being scared. But guess what? Like in prison, they don't care about that. If they got their hands on Tekashi, it's over. Especially don't mess around. Mess around and find out if you want. Be around a cat that's already got life sentence. He ain't getting out for the rest of his life. If you got a jacket, like he's got to live in prison the rest of his life. You might get a chance to get out. He doesn't. So if they say try to kill him, he will try his best to kill you because he got to be there for the rest of his life. He got to have respect. What's number one need of a man? Respect. See, they're twisting the stuff. You can see that they're using things. Remember we talked about a little while ago now, the crab in the bucket mentality, the crab in the barrel mentality. Crabs are supposed to come together. Crabs always cling on to each other. Crabs are always next to each other, but you put them in a bucket and it looks different. So you think that the crab in the bucket is pulling down because, they're trying to hold somebody down. No, we always hold each other down. But in our nature, holding each other down looks different than holding each other down in the bucket. And I'm not saying hold it down for me, bro. Hold it down. What does that mean? If somebody were to say, hold it down, what they saying? They're saying, yo, like, help me out. Keep this thing going. I might be gone. Keep everything going. Keep the party going, right? Make sure that everything's still functioning correctly. Hold it down for me. That's what we do in society, but put us in a bucket outside of our nature, right? Look out, etc. Right? Now all of a sudden, it's not holding it down, actually might be hurting each other. Yeah, stay loyal, keep the code, right? But staying loyal, keeping the code in prison is going to look different because you're in a barrel. But in your nature, holding it down is going to look different because you're free. You're in your environment. You're in the water or even out the water, right? Crabs can go in and out the water depending on the species. You hear what I'm saying? Like, so right. The same love that we have in our nature, somebody says it's toxic in theirs. Right? The same masculinity that these brothers have in their nature, somebody says it's toxic in theirs. You see the difference, right? He's not holding you down, sis. He's just holding you down in the wrong environment. Take him out of the bucket and let him hold you down. And I promise you'll love the fact he holds you down. Take him out the bucket where he has to be ready to kill. And I promise you, he'll stop killing. Take him out of the bucket to where he has to make sure that he says that not only is his bees ain't loyal, right? And that you sing these bees ain't loyal, but you say, I'll be loyal and don't call me a bee, and raise him in that environment and watch him love you like nobody else can. Because even with all the stuff going on, once again, statistically, he is still the most involved in his child's life. Statistically speaking, even with all the stuff going on, your man, your brother, the truth about our man is that he is still the most involved in his child's life. Yeah, we have. And actually, we're trying to work on getting those out too. My wife is actually taking that endeavor right now a lot more seriously than we've been able to. She's actually doing some editing and stuff. And we got some other people that volunteered to help us out. Yeah, exactly. We're not thugs. They groomed our boys to be thugs. Remember, Crip and Blood, those were not gangs. Those were communities of brothers that looked over everybody else. And when the CIA and FBI saw that, what did they do? They infiltrated it and paid some of our own brothers to become Sambo spirits, to become like Tisquantum, and to be traitors, and to begin to start to have us come against each other. And that's where you get the Bloods versus Crips. But Bloods and Crips in the beginning were nothing more than people who were supposed to support and defend their community. You take them out of their nature, you get them to come against each other, you get them to fight. People say, oh, Africans sold other Africans into slavery. Well, guess what? There was no such thing as chattel slavery till somebody showed up. And when that person showed up, they said, oh, yeah, this person hates you. We'll help you to go ahead and get rid of them and this and that or whatever. And they became, you should have been your brother's keeper and should have loved your brother no matter what. Instead, they became your brother's keeper and kept him away from who he was. The old saying, it takes a village to raise the young, but society can be corrupt. Society can be corrupt. So what part of society are you going, or which, well, I said, not even what part of society, what society will you become part of? I'm with you. You said that's how most of those gangs got started. Yeah, a lot of them got started protecting people. And what happens is you get somebody who, and if we be honest, a lot of these brothers were not necessarily strong enough to be in that position. They were not studied enough. They just happened to be in that position. And so now you've got something, once again, perverted, twisted from what its original intent was supposed to be. Right? That's what we're dealing with. All right, I'm going to try this. Hopefully the podcast uploads. We'll see you in a second. I'm excited. I think we got this podcast situation taken care of. Because I've been trying to get this back on track for the longest time. But anyways, we have to figure out, like, what is the environment that we want our brothers to be in? What is the water? Because this water doesn't flow correct. The salt is not in this water. You got a saltwater fish. You got a saltwater brother in a freshwater environment. Right? May I tell you something that I learned that really blessed me? If you even talk about racism, if you study what we consider to be white people, right? There's no such thing, but nevertheless, right? And I'm not saying white people don't exist. I'm saying literally the color white doesn't exist. So we have this weird stuff that we say. But if we were to go by this thing, talking about white versus black or white people, et cetera, have you ever thought to yourself that some of the behaviors that you think about are even sometimes things that have to do with the fact that they as a people might not even be getting nutrients they need? Now, I'm not trying to say all white people eat blah, blah, but I'm saying there's certain behaviors that show up depending on what you eat. Every culture eats certain foods. Did you know that certain foods give you certain behaviors? Even the truth about these white men that we just want to all put in the basket. Have you ever thought that in order to have sick behaviors, you are what you eat? You probably eat some sick things. If you live in a place like Europe, where I don't know, probably has lack of iron in the soil, lack of magnesium, lack of potassium, things like that. If you live in a place like that, do you think that you would probably exhibit some behaviors? Because people who lack some of those things, you might call them things like bipolar, even though everybody's bipolar because we all have electric charges. But if you put somebody like that, do you think that they might have an issue with some things? Right? Like, we're not even thinking in our nature because we don't even bring up nature. We're not even thinking naturally or naturally. We're just thinking they're terrible, they're evil, blah, blah. And it's a spirit. And yes, all those things deal with manifestation, right? But remember, you can't have a people. This is part of the problem. We taught people how to do stuff when we went to European lands as Moors, but you never really taught them certain things that came with it, right? And there's certain nutrients that you have that help you with your pituitary gland to stimulate the pineal gland with the hypothalamus and all these different things that are going on. You have different things that are happening with your body where they're just coming into the knowledge of things. So if you're coming into a people that literally have animals inside the home or whatever, and you're trying to show them, hey, don't have the animals inside the home, and people that might not bathe as much, and you're trying to say, hey, maybe you should bathe and this and that. We're not even getting to the part where, like, what are you eating? We're not even thinking about, once again, like, let's talk about this fish that's out of water. Like, what are you eating? Why are you eating pork? Why do you think that you should have raw food? People that want raw food, raw meat, especially raw vegetables are fine. But why do you want raw meat? You want raw meat because you're at such a deficit of food and how to actually prepare it, and you've actually killed off so many different things, the animals and stuff, that you'll just take whatever meat you can get. Don't even think about the importance of vegetables, but we didn't even bring that part over. I'm just saying, like, if we're gonna be honest, like, why do you think it's okay to eat blood? Why do you have people like Joe Rogan right from the Joe Rogan Experience? And he has some great guests and everything on there. He has a mindset that's interesting, to say the least. However, Joe Rogan is somebody who still eats humans. Did you know that? And I'm not saying that as far as a rumor. I'm talking about Joe Rogan is, as we would say back in the day, he on wax. He said it himself. You can look up Joe Rogan saying that he eats human flesh. And he posted it on Instagram. Do you think that Joe Rogan is going to be able to think the way that you do? And if he can't even eat the way that you do? You said you lack iron, you eat more meat. Not necessarily. If you grow your vegetables correctly, I'm not saying I eat meat, but I'm just saying, like, you don't have to. That's just something somebody said. Like, you could just make sure you eat more plants that have iron. Or just grow your own food and make sure that it's being grown correctly, so you know that the iron content is going to be high, and make sure that you rotate your crops so that every time that all of your other vegetables and fruit and stuff are going to be able to get different stuff. Like we're talking about racism, and we're not even dealing with the fact about what somebody eats. You know what's crazy? Because, like, you've been studied, but you haven't studied who you call your oppressor. And how you gonna fight somebody who you haven't studied? By the way, the fight is not even ours, really, for real, for real. That's why we need to come to a place where we have our own and be ready to defend. I'm not going out looking to fight anybody. I don't need America to bow down to the needs of Black folk, because that's not what America is designed to do. Right? You said we have long been used for their skincare, attempted infinite living, and flesh and organs stuff. Well, yeah, a lot of that is there too. Right? But I'm just saying, like, you haven't studied. You haven't studied the person who you say is your oppressor. But you so busy talking about how you oppress. But your oppressor, they study you. They study to see how many hours you would work. They know the average Black person is going to work way more than 40 hours a week if they can. But the average for everybody is going to be 40 hours. Look at why they seceded from the Union. We talked about this a little bit. Not only we talked about it a little bit on our live sessions, we also talked about a little bit about this on the in our class in Black History 1, I believe. Look even at some of that. Like, look at why the states seceded from the Union. They said that if you try to get certain states said if you try to get rid of slavery, and Black folk are the people that are most situated in life to be able to work out in the sun all day, then you're going to mess up our money, because we can't work in the sun, and cotton is king. And if you take away cotton, then we won't be able to keep making money. Therefore, we need to keep chattel slavery. That's what these people that keep talking about the Civil War was about. States' rights. That's what they keep trying to tell you and I, that the reality is it was never about states' rights. It was about making sure that they could make money, capitalism. You are what you eat. George Washington, why would you be surprised that George Washington's over a country that's falling apart all the time, when the reality is that George Washington himself fell apart? By the time he hit 30 years old, he had no more teeth in his mouth. You know that if you know how food works, like my wife, she teaches herbalism, and she teaches natural medicine, and she makes natural medicines, by going out and either going to what she has in her own at her own disposal, or going out even into forests and stuff and being able to forage. And she'll tell you straight up, as many herbalists who know what they're talking about will. However, my wife, she'll tell you straight up, like, yeah. If somebody's going through something and they're eating sweet, or fat or oily stuff, a lot of times they're not loved in their life. So you haven't even studied why you eat how you eat. Why do Black people love sweets the way that we do now? Why are we always so busy trying to get sugar and everything? Because you don't feel love. Make your people feel love, they won't have the need for sugar. Or learn or teach them true love, and then they'll start putting down the sugar. Like, this is your nature, but we've never studied it. We never lived inside it. Yeah, food is like drugs, right? Why does the person take cocaine? The person takes cocaine because they need an escape from life, not feeling love. Somebody says it'll get you high, it'll make you feel better. After that, you take your first high. When you get the first high, You're always trying to chase the first high because it helped you to get rid of having to deal with accountability and responsibility, and you could just make it through, and you just felt great about everything. Nobody could tell you anything. You just felt great about everything. So you're chasing that first experience that helped you to deal with the fact that every time I take it from this point on, I'm actually getting less and less and less. I'm feeling more and more and more like I'm not loved again. I'm trying to get back to it. Well, you go and you get sugar, and you get sugar that is not even cane sugar. You get sugar that's genetically modified. You get sugar that is showing up in stuff like high fructose corn syrup and all this stuff that will kill you. It will literally kill you. But you take it, and guess what happens when you eat it? You have an orgasm. You didn't know that. But foodies, that's why y'all eat stuff, and y'all say, this is so good. Y'all say stuff like that, right? Some of y'all say stuff like this. This is, who made this girl? This is better than sex. Some of y'all say stuff like that. And don't even think to yourself that you sound like a junkie. I know it because for a time, I was in a homeless shelter. And when I was in the homeless shelter, I would wake up next to people who would tell me experiences about when they got high with dope. And they would say things like, man, no woman has ever loved me the same way that dope has. Like, I've heard what drug addicts sound like. Woke up next to them, seen them shaking. I've seen people trying to get off sugar, shaking. People who are making orders at restaurants, doing this, fast food restaurant, sitting up there at McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, Chick-fil-A, all these places you like to go to, even Chipotle and McDonald's, same company. I know you just think it's healthier, it looks healthier, right? And sometimes it is, real talk, it's better than McDonald's straight up, but same company. And I see people making orders like this. Do you have you ever notice? See, you probably noticed it, but then notice how I pointed it out. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for that example. Y'all ever notice? You think about it. You be seeing people, I don't know. I mean, what you gonna have? Same-ish? Because you're about to get high. You know you're about to get high. It's important to you. And mess around and you forget somebody's fries in an order. Mess around and you work for one of these places. Y'all know better than I. Come on, go and talk to me. Y'all know better than I worked at I'm not gonna hold you. I worked at fast food places before, in other restaurants, fine dining, regular set, whatever. Right? Y'all know better than I do. So some of y'all who work the windows more than other people do, right? Let somebody forget their fries. That's salt. Addicted. Right? They'll drive back. You mess around back, especially back in the day. Like the McDonald's fries are still pretty deep. Truth be told, I don't know the last time I had McDonald's fries. It might be like, I think I snuck McDonald's fries in because at least I would mess with the fries if I wouldn't mess with anything else, but I wouldn't order anything else. But I don't think I've had like a McDonald's meal like 7-8 years. Even if that was the only thing around, I just went ahead and just, went hours without eating. Because McDonald's, what their food actually is. Supposedly they made the formula better. They didn't make the food better. They said they improved on the formula. Right? You said, well, Chick-fil-A didn't, you blew up on them because they didn't have your salad dressing. Hey, because your body is addicted to those things, right? Yeah, I didn't know that at the time. I'm just saying, like, I knew the fries were better. When I say I knew the fries were better, I meant like I knew the fries basically were not made the same as, like, for example, like the chicken nuggets are like made out of a pink thing or whatever. But even the fries, I didn't know at the time. The fries, they use the same material in the fries that they use in making your that they use the same embalming fluid in the food at one point. Supposedly they don't use it anymore. I didn't know at the time they were using embalming fluid. So that's why you could put McDonald's food out and you could come back to it 6 months later and it would still be there and it probably wouldn't even be ate. Like bugs won't mess with it. It'll just be sitting there. Recently lost 55 pounds. Congratulations. Amen. Amen. I'm about to try and get where you at. I'm slowly losing. I'm 6'5.5", so I can hide my weight a little more than everybody else can, but I'm slowly losing. I've noticed I got a little less of this. Just praise God for that. But I'm just telling you, right? Like you got to realize, like, there's a lot of this stuff. Like you got to realize there's like a lot of this stuff that's going on. And so we're busy talking about all this stuff, but we don't even know, like, what is the nature? For example, if a baby's going to eat formula and not eat food, we're already starting off a baby for a bad precedence. If a baby's not going to breastfeed, do you know that the baby needs to breastfeed because the mother's milk is the best medicine for a baby? The truth about our men, if your men are going off formula, do you know that formula is not even built for anybody else except little white boys? And that's just the average little white boy. So it doesn't mean it's built for all little white boys, but every mother's breast milk is supposed to change according to her baby, because her baby and her have a frequency level, have a spiritual connection, have a mindset that nobody else will. They built it over 9 months. And really, even the X part that was in the egg has been something that's been part of that sister for generations. The truth about your men is they're not even feeding off of your breast milk, ladies. Yeah, breast milk can even help out with diaper rashes. It can help with stretch marks. Women can even drink their own breast milk. Matter of fact, they sell your breast milk to people, right? But your baby is not even getting the best that you have. The best that you have. You know that the best that a man has, men should make sure that they're eating things like figs and all types of stuff that's for blood flow and all stuff. You know why? Right? Anything that's part of you having sex. You know why, brothers? Because whatever you eat, that's what your baby will be. And your testicles make new semen every 2 weeks. And so that's why even a lot of y'all will get what they call blue balls and stuff if you don't have sex, because men have to get rid of it in order to make other things, right? In order to have another child. Your man is literally designed to have sex, to make sure that he's having as many chances as he can have to make sure that he has babies. That's how he's designed. And so if you eat something that's bad, if you get drunk, if you go out with your boys for a week and y'all just get tore up for a week, you get somebody pregnant during that week, everything that you drank, everything that you ate, everything you didn't eat is either in or not in your part of the baby. Everything. Right? Like, why do men have such a problem with erectile dysfunction nowadays, even in their 20s now, even some of these teenage babies? Why are they having such problems? Because you eat seedless stuff. If you eat stuff that doesn't have seed, how are you going to be able to produce stuff that has seed? If you eating seedless stuff and give birth to a baby, then why are you going to be surprised that your baby is going to grow up and be seedless? It includes the emotional state as well. Yeah, it all goes together. Holistic, holy. Holy means put a W before that H. Holy, whole. You said your dad was. I'm not going to touch that one. Aphrodisiac. But I'm just saying though, right? We don't think about it as being whole. The truth about our men. Are your men coming from men and women who are healthy and are thinking about the next generation all the time? Right? Are your men coming from men and women who are thinking about the next generation all the time? Right? Are we thinking about the next generation all the time? These men are the product of a generation. You know what's crazy? Some of us are more equipped to check out produce at a store than produce that comes out of us. Salah, not trying to hurt no feelings. Some of you know more about making sure that you can make sure that an eggplant is edible, right? And you'll even talk and make jokes about eggplant with men and stuff, right? But you don't know how to make sure that you know how to talk to a man. How do you check on a man? Once again, what is the logic? What is the psychology of a man? What is the soul of an Israelite man versus the soul of a romantic man? I want my man to be romantic. Well, he probably not going to be romantic because he's not Roman. Would you like him to love you? Not trying to slap anybody. If the shoe fits weird, if it don't, take it off. I'm just saying. right? I had to learn this about our sisters. I talked about our women, and even if you notice when I was talking about it, I still was like, hey, I know I'm not a sister. I know I don't have it all together. I'm listening to what you guys have said. You guys can correct me, this and that. Or what. I had to learn how to even be able to do that. Because even though I had a mother and father, and I respected my mother and father, and I never saw any cheating, any violence against one another, any cussing each other out. I think I can kind of sort of remember a kind of sort of fight. And I remember one time my mom slipped up and said something that let me know they were fighting. Right. But I still wasn't even raised because nobody taught me, hey, this is why your mom and I have success in that area. Nobody said that. Nobody showed me. So I still grew up not knowing how to do that. I didn't know the culture. I grew up in the culture, but I didn't know the culture. I grew up in it. Just because you grow up in it doesn't mean you'll automatically know it. But I grew up knowing I wanted it. At least I had a head start in that regard. At least I knew I wanted it. And a lot of men, we want this. May I say something that will blow you guys' mind, especially the sisters? There ain't a man well, I won't say there ain't a man. There's always an exception to a rule, but what we consider our men, right? But there ain't a man that you trying to get, let's put it that way, a husband. There is not a husband out there who is not willing to submit. Did you catch that? Did you catch that? There's not a man or a husband, a real husband. We're talking culturally now. You said you grew up grew up in it, but was never schooled on the level they were. Yeah, right. There's not a husband out here that does not want to submit. Y'all think we just want you to submit. No, you know why your husband wants to be with somebody who's in submission, not submission. He doesn't want you submitting to him. He wants you to submit to the mission because he submitted to the mission. You think because he says, listen to me, he's saying bow down. No, he's saying, listen to me because I'm trying to do the same thing that I want you to do. Now, we can't do it in the same way. So I need you to submit to the mission because you can submit to it in ways I can't. You are the multiplier. You're the force multiplier out here. You can take my seed and you can turn it into a child. And you can separate all the other seeds that are not called to that egg and make sure that it's the one that the Most High wants. You can do all those things. I can't do that. So when I'm submitted to this, yeah, I can go hard. I can work. I can cherish. I can do this. I can do all these things, right? I can hold on some stuff. I won't even tell you some of the stuff I go through. But every once in a while, can you use your calling? Can you use your have? Can you use what you have? Because there's some things you have, baby, that I don't have access to. That's what I'm talking about. I need some submission. That's it. That's all he said. I need some submission, not submansion. You don't have to submit to Kofi. I could care less. By the way, I already have a wife, so I'm not looking for everybody to submit to Kofi anyway. But even when it comes to leadership over SOC, I realize that I'm not over any particular person. Y'all can do whatever y'all want. Y'all can believe whatever you want. You can call me whatever you want. You can call me whenever you want. You can text me. You can do. You could not communicate. You can say I'm terrible, blah blah, whatever. It don't matter, right? But if you want to be part of this community, please submit to the mission. That's all we're asking. We're not asking for you to have to say whatever I say is right and to make sure that you give me this and give me this or whatever. Praise y'all for those who decide to give things to SOC. Some of y'all even decide to give things that help my family. I appreciate it. Appreciate it all day, every day. 5,000 times on Shabbat, right? Appreciate you. That being said, I don't worry about you submitting to me because I'm a vessel anyways, and I'm part of the environment. I'm trying to protect the environment. If you come in here, can you at least submit to the mission of making the environment what the Most High wants? And that's what a husband is saying. A husband is in submission. That's the problem, is that you got a man that would never had a mission. And if he had ever had a mission, then he ain't in submission. And by the way, every person is still in submission, because if it's not the mission the Most High has given you, you got some mission. There's something you bow down to, right? What's that say about Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? What is it? You have to. I can't remember what it is. Wow, Something along the lines of you better have a vision, because if you don't have a vision, you're working for somebody's vision. Something like that. Something like that. I apologize. I can't. It's not hitting me right off the dome right now. But if you don't have a mission, you under somebody's mission. You're in submission all the time. I don't listen to the government. Just because you don't listen to the government doesn't mean there's not somebody else. The government has to listen to corporations. You don't buy from corporations. You don't watch commercials. I mean, you submitted to something. Oh, I only do whatever I want. Okay, cool. How you make your money? You do whatever you want. Well, I'm retired now. Okay, how you get to being retired? Did you have to go through what somebody else told you to do? There's not a husband out there that is not in submission. Your goal needs to be to find out, though, is he a real husband, number one? But then number two, is he in submission of something greater than himself? And is he in submission to the Most High? If he meets those qualifications, that at least is the beginning of qualifications. But we don't even look at that. And we blame the husband. We blame the man. He said, on your mission, the better you get, the better your husband gets. Well, yeah, of course, if you share the same mission, it's automatic. But every man before he meets his woman is supposed to be what? In his work. Every husband before he meets his wife is supposed to be what? In his work. Before Eve was created, Chavach, or who we call Eve, was created, she had what? She had a work. Amen. Right? He had a work. When Eve shows up, she showed up inside of an environment that Adam was already working in. When your husband finds his wife, he should find his wife because he's in his work. And you as a wife should turn around, start asking him questions about his work to see if he is in fact in his work. If he is in his work, then you start saying, okay, now show me some other qualifications. Because if I'm going to make sure I forsake all others for you, then I need to make sure that I'm going to be submitted to somebody in a mission, that in the mission will be eternal. So I'm not looking for a temporary situation. You think that your marriage is temporary. Till death do you part is the flesh part. But see, the work that submission you've entered into lasts for eternity. Right? If the Most High does not tell Yahshua that it's time for him to come back, my great grandchildren will be able to look back and say that there was a work done by Kofi. And I'm proud to be an Ofori. I'm proud to be SOC. I'm proud to be from Maya. I'm proud to be from, Solomon. I'm proud to be from Bloodline keeps continuing. Names keep continuing. The work is eternal. So the mission I'm part of is something so great that I have to think better than myself all the time. I have to think greater than myself all the time, which means now you have if my wife, who is Maya, comes in and agrees and marries becomes one with me, and therefore takes on the work as well, she's submitted to the mission that's greater than me as well. So now you got two people who have to love each other and honor the vessels, become one with each other, and at the same time not do anything that will prohibit the person from an eternal work. I'm not in a temporary situation when I'm married. I'm in an eternity. See, you get married because you walk down the aisle and you think because you got married, now you go ahead and become a husband or become a wife. No. Like, what was his work before? And what made you worthy of being somebody who could be known as somebody that can multiply anything you touch? You hear it in the voice. Amen. Right? What made you worthy? Are you worthy of anything that you touch, sister? Anything that you touch, it multiplies. Or are you still sitting up there saying, I don't think that I can do anything? See, I need, as much as y'all think, I don't want, y'all think because you think about romanticism and romantic stuff and Greco-Roman values and things like that. Y'all think that we as men, we want a sister that's going to sit there and be quiet all day. And if that's your nature, that's one thing, right? But that's not what we're looking for. Watch this, my drive, right? Nothing drives me greater besides when the Most High, of course, shows up as well. Nothing gives me a better drive as far as out of my human family. When my wife says, I was talking about today, I was telling her, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I don't know what we're going to deal with. I don't know where this is going. I know that I did this. We had a conversation and I was telling her the conversation is kind of helping me to see where I'm going to go. And she said, whatever you say, it's going to be powerful. She just said it out the blue. And I don't even know if she recognized it. I didn't stop to do it. I almost did. I said, thanks and stuff, but I was listening. We were talking about something else. But when she said it, like almost that time like froze for me. Right? Because what she was saying is that, look, I'm submitted to the mission. I trust you, baby. Like whatever you're going to say, it's going to be powerful. And so even though I still don't know what I'm going to say for the rest of this, I know that whatever I say, because my wife said it, like I know now the oneness, like anybody else, like, and guess what? But guess what? You know why she has that? Because she also has the authority in my life to be able to say, get yourself together, or you don't need to talk about that, or you need to make sure you do this differently, or whatever. Right. And so if she'll say that and keep energy, right, to put energy towards you need to get yourself together, she also will keep the same energy to make sure, hey, what you worried about? Like, it's going to be powerful. And just say it like that and keep it moving in the conversation. Right? Like, that's the mindset. Right? Your husband wants you to be outspoken. He just wants you to keep the same energy. You hear that? He just wants you to keep the same energy. If you want to tell me how terrible I am, hey, same energy. Babe, thank you for being a provider. If you're going to tell, man, I'm so tired of this, make sure you take out the trash and stuff. Okay. But when you don't have to say nothing about the trash for a month, guess what? Every man is going to say, husbands, y'all back me up, and you can be a husband before you marry, right? In our culture, pre-qualified. Husbands, back me up. If you're going to tell me about the trash, fine. When I make sure that you ain't got to worry about trash inside or outside the house again for a whole month, you know what I'm looking for the whole time? After that month, I'm looking for, at some point, she's going to say thank you. Bare minimum. Keep the same energy. That's it. If I mess up once and you got the right to yell about it, if I keep it consistent for a month, at least give me the same energy. Right? That's it. And that's not a bad request, is it? That's not a terrible thing. Right? It's just like as a wife. He get mad because you put something in the washing machine, you wash it. Man, I needed this and blah, blah. How dare you not? Okay, fine. All right. I'm gonna make sure I check your pockets from this point on. It's been 6 months. And you waiting for what? At some point, like acknowledge that I've had this on point. Acknowledge that I made sure your paperwork was always where it's supposed to be. Acknowledge that you messed up and put it in the pocket in the wrong place, in the first place, right? And so your husband, he's waiting on respect. He's waiting on respect, right? Before we start talking about all these other things, right? Yeah, recognize. You better recognize, right? Recognize what I do. You know why your husbands don't want to go to none of these churches and stuff you go to? They don't want to listen to no pastors. They don't want to listen to Kofi. They automatically assume, hey, how you doing, Cash? They automatically assume that I'm going to be on here and I'm going to be doing the same thing these other preachers and pastors do. What do other preachers and pastors do? They'll let you keep coming to church and on one time ask you about where's your husband. On one time, be like, why do you keep disrespecting him? Why does your husband feel like he's not heard as much as I am? This and that, and I'll tell a sister real quick, like, hey, look, you need to make sure that your husband is getting the same energy that I'm getting, bare minimum, because he should be getting more. Right? You sit up there where Kofi was telling me about this, and Kofi, I'll be quick to say, please don't say that. Right? If he's not respected, he ain't ready for that conversation. That's the truth. And by the way, as a sister, you wouldn't want the same thing. As much as y'all sit up there and say you would never want to hear from me that I was talking to some sister and she was telling me what you were saying. And I realized that what you were saying was right when she told me. Oh, that's a fight. I was listening to my spiritual mother, and I know you've been telling me for 7 years to get this. I've done this before. It's stupid. I was listening to my spiritual mother, and she started saying, I never really saw it from that point of view. And I realized that, what you're saying was right. You take it, but it's like a slap in the face. Like, Negro, I've been saying it for 7 years. Right? Like, you'll take it eventually and you'll get over it. But at first, that thing sting a little bit. But here you are trying to say, well, Pastor Kofi, this pastor over here, he said blah, blah. And we should say that. Guess what? If he don't feel respect yet, he ain't ready. Make it simple. Make it simple in that regard. Like, if he ain't ready, because if he don't feel like you listen to him and respect him, he ain't ready to hear nobody's message. You'll talk about he need to listen to 3 hours of Kofi, but you won't let him watch the game on Sunday. I'm just telling you, we're gonna have a problem. And you might say, well, this is my see, this is what the sisters do. This is more important than the game. This is life and death. Your family means a mission. I need a man that I can listen to. Blah, blah. If you won't respect the game, he ain't gonna respect this game. Right? Like if he can't watch 3 hours of what he likes to watch, why would he watch somebody else? He don't know me. He don't know your pastor. He don't know your bishop. You know what you say when a man go out of his way to do what makes his wife happy. Most women can't help but compliment. Yeah, and see that's another thing. Can I? Oh, see, Sir Stephen, you're gonna get the sisters mad at me today, bro. But that's real. I can't let the Holy Spirit. I'm trying to get away from that comment, but now that I've seen it, something in me was saying, don't read it. If you read it, you're going to touch on it. I was trying to ignore your comment, if I'll be honest, brother. Now I know why I was trying to, because now that I've seen it, I can't let that just go. Right? You ready? You ready for this? You said, when I bring you up, I offer him to talk to you or learn from you, hoping to balance us out. Yeah, I'm just saying he's going to have to feel respected in other ways. But watch this. Watch this. Okay. That's a real statement, Brother Stephen. Because a lot of brothers I talk to deal with that very thing. You ready? Hallelujah. Don't get mad at me, sisters, because I'm going to step on some toes. I'm not going to even say anything bad. I'm just going to step on some toes because I know some of y'all do this. I know it. Like, y'all can be mad at me. I know it. All right. Y'all ready? Your husband does something for you well. Guess what's going to happen? A sister who doesn't get love is going to notice. And she's going to mention it to you or to him. Please don't get mad at him because he did something for you and somebody else takes notice. He ain't looking for nobody else. Now, keep it real with him, keep it 100 with him, make sure he knows, like, hey, there's balances, there's this and that. Somebody might be trying to give it you. All that's fine, all that's cool. But I'm here to tell you that a lot of sisters get upset with their husbands, with their boyfriends, whatever, with somebody they even have a crush on and they think the person has a crush on them. When somebody else knows it. Is it? Matter of fact, sisters, let's keep it 100. Let's just keep this 100. All right, family. Y'all know, going back to junior high and high school, and really from elementary school, y'all just didn't know any better because you were too young. But y'all know that basically there came to be an age to where a whole bunch of guys, almost 100% of guys around you that were hanging with you, definitely were looking for something more than you than just friendship. Now, you might not have known it at the time, but there were a lot of boys out there who were hanging around you and you thought, oh, that's just my great friend. And he was around when I had this boyfriend and he was a shoulder to the crowd. And dude was just looking for an opportunity to slide in between. All right. I'm just going to keep it 100 with you. Right. And a lot of y'all figured it out and used a lot of us in general. Right. Let's just keep it 100. Right. Not everybody, but a lot. And if you didn't do it, you know somebody that did. Everybody knew this was the girl that everybody in the school wanted to be like, or this was the girl that did blah, blah, or you had your group and you had 2-3 guys that seemed like they do whatever, walk you home from school, pick up your stuff, do all this stuff. You can call them at a moment's notice. And it wasn't until they got to be older and maybe acknowledged of the girls that they started leaving you alone, or you even gave them permission. Sometimes they'd be like, they would come to you and even realize you might have had a conversation and it'd be something like this. You'd have a conversation. It'd be something like this. Hi, hey sis. So-and-so asked me if I could go to the dance with them. And you just be looking at him and he'd pause. Okay? And you'd be like, okay, and? Now, he didn't say anything, but you just broke his heart. Because what he really was still doing was, hey, he didn't know how to talk to women yet, right? And really, he shouldn't have had to, but he basically was like, because they were teaching about dating at these dances. But basically, what he was saying is, I feel like we're a couple, and I feel like want to be yours, and I do all these great things for you. And even though you don't really acknowledge it, I want you to know that, like, I really don't want to go on any kind of date with anybody. But somebody did ask me, I'd like to go to the dance, and if you don't really see me as worthy of going, seems like I'm gonna go with somebody else anyways. Can you at least give me permission? Like that's what he literally was talking to you about, but you didn't catch it, right? So because he doesn't, but because he's so submissive and does everything anyways, you didn't even realize he submitted to a mission. His mission was to make you happy. So even at that young age, he was already make her happy, make her happy, make her happy. Maybe she'll realize that I want, to show her I'm worthy of being a husband. That's what he was doing, right? So he was out there, he was doing those things. You've been dealing with that your whole life, right? But then when he got to be a certain age, right? Or let's even use the same example. Let's say you gave him permission to go with the girl to the dance. And then you saw him with a girl with the dance, and you had supposedly the better catch, the better person you were with, and you were supposed to be better, but you saw something in you was probably like, man, what do you go out with her for? And you start looking at her, she ain't even this, she ain't even that, she ain't even got my body. Really, like because he got with somebody, he was trying to give you it was his mission to serve you. And then somebody else took notice and probably asked him out because they saw how he treated you and was like, man, that'd be really nice if he treated me like that. Right? Y'all know I ain't lying. Y'all know I ain't lying. Come on, sister. If it ain't you, you know somebody just like that. Come on now. Some of y'all brothers did that stuff too. You hear what I'm saying? Come on now. And if it ain't everybody, y'all know at least somebody. Come on now. Right? You know? Yeah, or you might say, why are you being weird to me and this and that? Or what? Like, because he already had it. He was already at an age where he was trying to submit to a mission, and part of that mission was to make sure that you were taken care of. I know. Oh no, that's my best friend. I've known him since we was little babies and stuff like that, or whatever. And when he was done, he was just being not. When he got to be about 13, at the oldest, he was already like boys get their first crush, even though they don't have nothing, nothing, none of the pipes and all that stuff work yet and everything the way it's supposed to. But you can start getting your first crush when you like 5, 6 years old. Right? Like you understand, and you start doing what? Submitting to the teacher. You don't listen to nobody else, but this one teacher. Why are you listening to her? He sees something, somebody who supports a mission. That teacher's mission is to help him to become greater and to get better. And so guess what? At that young age, 5, 6 years old, he's already like, man, I like that. I want that. I want somebody that can teach me too. I want somebody that can voice things too. I want somebody that listens to me. She'll say, what do you want to be when you get older? That means a lot to a 5 or 6 year old. What do you want to be? What can I do to help you in that? Man, you know what? They were trying to put me in, and I'm not talking about personal experience. I'm just talking about in general. You know, maybe your teacher's trying to put you in what do you call it? I don't even know what you would call it nowadays. You know, we used to have all kind of bad words, special needs classes, I guess they would say. And your teacher's like, "Oh no, not my baby. You're not gonna put him in special needs. If I gotta work with him, if I gotta put him in a desk by himself, if I gotta do this, if I gotta do that, whatever, you ain't gonna put my baby in there. No. We're gonna work on this." And they call your mama, they call your daddy, they say, "Hey, can we do this? Let's get a tutor. I'll stay 5 minutes extra with them after class." They start talking to you during recess to see if stuff's going on. You got family problems, they want to hear your family problems and have you talk it out. Like that's what you had. That was you learned. That was your experience as a little boy. Problem is our men, the truth about our men, we get older and that stuff ain't there no more. Remedial classes as well. Okay. Right? You hear what I'm saying? Like he got that when he was a little child. Somebody was dedicated to helping him to become oriented with his mission and become his greatest self. His mama, look at my little man walk. Look, every step he took. He couldn't even walk yet. He fell 15 times, busted his head open 25 times. And every time he got up and shook the cobwebs out, he saw his mama's face, said, "Great job, baby. You almost did it. Keep on going." And then he gets older and nobody says, "Keep going." Right? If he was breastfed, the oxytocin that he received, the oxytocin was that great feeling that he got. He got that great feeling because he got it from mama. If he had a father, he got a great feeling being in his father's house and being roughed over and stuff like that. But I'm talking about this relationship piece now between a man and a woman. Like he saw that and he gets to a certain age and now it don't exist no more. Younger brothers that I'm allowed to be around and stuff, I tell them all the time. I be telling them, yo, like that's cute. I know mama and grandmama and everybody, they act like that's cute. But I promise you, when you get older, it ain't gonna be cute no more. Get it together now. And they be thinking I'm harsh with these little babies. But I tell the truth. I know you think that's cute. But I promise you, everything she letting you get away with now, 5 years from now, she will beat the brakes off you. Go ahead and get it together now. Don't get to a place to where you 5 years later you keep doing what you thought was cute and finally she started beating the brakes off you and now you think women are trash. No. Like it was trash behavior then. She should have told you it was trash behavior. I'm here as the male influence to tell you it's trash, bro. Right? Yeah, you don't forget those teachers either. I don't remember the names of all teachers, but I remember the names of some. Most teachers I've had, I can't tell you, even if I can remember a lot of faces, I can't tell you names. I'm not always great with names anyway. But I can tell you first grade teacher's name, Miss Humphrey. Remember her. Matter of fact, first black teacher that I had. Can remember her. Just like that. PS 11, New York City. Right outside Brooklyn. Remember her. Remember the glasses. Remember she was an older woman. All these things. Remember that she had too many children in her class. It was a classroom that probably was only supposed to fit about 20. She had like 40 something children in that class. But I remember choir director was never even in the choir. But I remember she was a black woman, always was looking out for us, made sure, hey, you ain't gonna do this, you ain't gonna do that. I look for her voice. Right? I remember Senora Cintron, who I literally failed out of her classes several years in a row. And then when I was going to fail, she allowed me to take electives after. I still graduated on time with my class. She allowed me to take electives. I had to basically like ace everything. And like I had to take 2.5 years, my senior year, and had all these teachers that worked with me. And I remember her. And she was one of the first people when I put on the uniform, I came home, I came back, went to the school. I didn't care about the principal. I didn't care about all these other people. You know, there was one principal and stuff. I was kind of tight with the assistant principal, right? But outside of that, I went straight to her. I need you to see this. I need when I kept messing up and stuff, but you helped me. And when I had like, I'm a musician, so when I had like talent contests and stuff, and you helped me to be able to learn certain things in Spanish and all that, and even wrote some of it out phonetically, even though I couldn't even pronounce it correctly. So you wrote it out in a different way. It took all that extra time out. Put it to Kanye's sister, who was willing to teach me actual, classical Espanol, but at the same time, make sure that I knew the slang and all that stuff. Like I remember that. I didn't go looking for nobody. I look at Senora Central. That's the first person I'm looking for, right? I remember the person who was there for English 2. Something that I'm really great with, and I love language and stuff, but I hated English class because nobody really made it relative. And then all of a sudden he said, "No, I see something." He was like, "Y'all need to listen to Kofi in class, and he's got great ideas." Never had anybody say that to me. He got great ideas and do this and do this. And so guess what? All of a sudden, out of nowhere, I started doing plays, and I did Hamlet. The famous "To Be Not or Not to Be." That is the question. They still show people that in high school, at the high school I went to, till this day, found out that they still show people that. Right? That's got to be 23 years ago. Right? Yeah, 23 years ago, basically, or 22 years ago, 22 and a half, whatever. Right? Where they still show people that same thing of me speaking on Hamlet and Shakespeare. Don't even care about Shakespeare really like that. But he believed in me, right? There's fruit there. And so still to this day, thank you so much. Like I remember Daniel Ebling, band teacher, who I actually got in trouble with, lied in a serious way and made him to where he couldn't trust me. Yet at the end of the day, he still gave me enough trust and stuff, allowed me to get it back. And so fed me and stuff like that, showed me differences and stuff, said, hey, if you're going to play this in music anymore, you're not allowed to play this song unless you can tell me who originally did this song. And you can't play this song till you learn this beat. And you can't play this instrument till you can play this one. And you can't do this till. And now I learned those things, right? I wasn't even great at speaking. I'm very introverted outside of this. I really don't talk to people that much. I like to go to a space and be by myself. I spend some family time. I go right back to myself, right? Very introverted. And I didn't even speak that well because I didn't like to be around people at all. I thought all I was going to do at one point was going to be sports. Then I thought it was just going to be music. And then eventually the Most High said, nope, you got to speak. So I started doing that and executing in that. And I praise Yah that he has given me the opportunity to do so, right? But the reality is that like I didn't do those things, but he saw that I spoke a language. So he said, hey, if you speak well through an instrument, let's keep working on the instrument. Gave me keys. I used to be able to come there any time of day, all night. You're not supposed to be in high school at night. I could be there all night long because that was the only way I talked. Right. But when I got older as a man, where was that? See, we think that only the sister needs that encouragement, but the truth about our men, we still need it. Because in every man is a little boy, and every little boy is a man. You probably heard in my voice. You probably heard how passionate I am about it still, how much I still love that, how much I still desire it, how much I still relish in it. The people that I still love because of that. You probably heard it in my voice. That I look for that, I need that, I want that, I crave that, I desire it. It's important to me. When my wife gives me that love, nothing like it. And so I'm telling you, sisters, I'm telling you, once again, don't get mad when other sisters realize what's going on. Get mad if your husband starts using it as an excuse to start visiting other sisters. That's obviously a problem. But if a sister says something, this is something I learned a long time ago. This is what I do with my own children, right? My spiritual children as well, my daughters, stuff like that. Like if I see a little girl, you know what I do with these, and ask these little girls when I meet them one-on-one, they'll tell you. Guess what I start doing? I start sewing into them. I start telling them things are great. I start telling them how awesome they are. I start using terms like, hey, you're beautiful for your age, blah, blah, and this and that. You know, I start telling them certain things. You know why? Because I don't want you to think that you need to listen to a little boy out here tell you what you should be getting from your family, right? You can ask these little girls when we travel around, we talk to them, or even these grown girls, right? We make sure that we sew into them, right? Because they're not supposed to get this from everywhere else. Right? You said you were raised, or your ex was raised by a mother that told her everything her father did or didn't do. Then it comes to you. Yeah. Right. So first things first, we need to have these, once again, the hearts of the fathers have to return to the children. Hearts of the children have to return to the fathers. So first things first, we're going to make sure, hey, let's sow into you. Let's show you who you are. Let's make sure we lift you up. Let's make sure you feel protected. Let's let you know you don't have to go anywhere looking for this stuff, right? Let's build you up. Let's speak into you. Let's speak into you. Well, the same thing with your husband, who has a little boy inside of him. He's eternal, which means that every version of himself exists at the same time. Your husband needs to hear as well, so that if some sister says something, don't worry about it. If you tell you, see, this is the real issue, and this is where I'm gonna get in trouble. Right? I see you, Miss Moon. Hold on one second. I'm gonna try and come to you in a second. All right, let me get this out real quick. If okay, watch this. Watch this. You ready? If you've been sewing into your husband that he's sexy, then don't be worried if some other sisters say he's sexy, because he's gonna be like, my wife say that all the time. Don't get frustrated by it. That's the truth about your man. If he even entertains it from somebody else, right? If he keeps entertaining it from somebody else, right? Then you got a problem, or you don't have a husband. But I'm telling you, these real husbands who keep it 100, who live this life, who want this life, who pine for this life, who pine for you, who are willing to give, who are willing to die for you. This is a different type of relationship. When they hear from you, the person that they want to keep secure, that you respect it, and you say stuff like, oh, you sexy, baby, or you so strong. Stuff like I've told you before, let me be carrying some groceries and I feel like I can't carry them anymore. If my wife want me to carry them for another mile, all she got to say is, baby, you so strong, I couldn't carry them groceries. I'm so thankful that I have you in my life. Boom. Right, I'm ready to go. What else you need? You need me to do this. You need me to clean the gutters. You need me to go for a mile run for you. You need me to run through that wall. Like, I'm ready, just because she said, she gave an encouragement. Right? I believe it or not, I forsook all others. Like, I forsook all others. I don't care about all others. I'm with you. And I'm not trying to be mean. Y'all know I care. I have a certain level of care, but it ain't gonna be the same I have for my wife. I appreciate all y'all on all these platforms. If you're watching this live, if you watch this later on, if you listen back to the replay on the podcast, whatever it is that you're gonna do, if you listen on YouTube, if you're gonna watch this on Facebook, whatever the case is, I love for every y'all, but it's limited in comparison to my wife. The love for her is unlimited, because I can only love myself according to how I love her. And every man, if you want a blessing, may I attach this to it real quick? Your blessings don't come outside of how you treat your wife. So wives, yes, you better be treated correctly, but also acknowledge when he treats you well, because his blessing doesn't come outside of how he treats you. And if he's trying to treat you well and you won't even acknowledge it, then it gets to a place to where he starts thinking, where's the blessing going to come from? You said you wanted that from your ex. She thought that it would only make your head big and you would leave her. Yeah, I'm telling you. Right? Oh, why you got to say that? Why you got to do this? Once again, stop being a strong, independent woman. You ain't got to be there. Don't be independent. Be interdependent with me. I need you and you need me. That's how this works. I don't need you to get no big head and this and that. Your husband needs to have a big head because the more he thinks he can do, the more you will have done. If anybody should be my cheerleader, it should be my wife. And this is the problem you have. So the problem that you have, sister, once again, if this is your problem, if the shoe fits, wear it. If it don't, take it off. The problem that you're having is not that your husband ain't blah, 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 blah. The problem that you're having is that when you hear his sister say something in acknowledgement of what he does, you in your mind realize you haven't been saying what she's acknowledging. Don't throw too much at me. Right? Don't hit me too hard. You hear what I'm saying? A lot of the problem that the sisters have is that you realize something inside you that's going to be truth and honest is going to say, why is she saying that? Why is she saying that? I don't say that. That's what it is. Because if she's saying something that's real, right? She might now some women will lie just to try and do blah blah, but hopefully hopefully you have a husband. Once again, a lot of people dealing with little boys or men, right? I'm talking about husband. But if somebody sees your husband being a husband and they say, "Now that's a real husband," like brothers do it all the time too. We just think different. Like brothers will do it all the time. Brothers will go, "Oh man, you know what? I hope I find a wife just like that." There's a whole Chris Rock joke behind that. Look that up, right? Some of these jokes are based on a lot of reality. All of these jokes usually are based on some kind of reality, right? But guess what? He won't even try to feed off because he'll know it's disrespectful to take the compliment like that directly from another woman. So a lot of times he'll just be quiet. Even if you're not there, we usually we usually will be rude. We come off as rude. I come off as very rude sometimes when I'm not with my wife, especially because I don't want any indication, right? I'll even try my best to make sure I'm showing this off. I don't want there to be any indication. I actually had a problem not too long ago. I was going through some health stuff and my finger swole up to where I couldn't keep this on. And I told my wife I felt naked because if y'all see, some of y'all be checking for the tans and all that, the ring tan and all that. I got the ring tan just to let y'all see it, right? But I was like, I don't take my ring off. I've never really taken. I can remember every time I've taken my ring off because I can't even get it off. Like I can't even get it off. I got it specifically at a size, and of course I'm a little heavier now, but be honest. But I got it specifically at a size where even when I first got it, it don't come off. Right? Like I can't get mad and just be like, I'm sick of this. I couldn't even do it. I'd be sitting here for like 2 hours. Had to go and get some grease, you know what I'm saying? And have to say some prayers and have to start trying to. I'm literally right now. I'm trying. I cannot really get it past nothing. Right? It hurts. I'm not gonna hurt myself on here, nor am I gonna take my ring off either. But I'm just saying, right? Like because I'm dedicated. I'm all the way. So I will be very rude. I will come off as rude to some women and disrespectful because I don't even want it to come on. I'm that. And you can call it fear, you can call it being afraid, you can call it being whipped, whatever. I'm whipped then. Because I don't even want her to think. I don't even want her to think there's a possibility. Right? Some women don't even care. They see the ring and they don't even care. But I'll do my best to be like, oh, well, okay, thank you. Have a nice day. And she'll be silent, still talk. Well, hey, what's your name? And I've literally at times put my hand up. Like, I'm not going to talk. Rude. And I'm not saying it because I'm on it. Thank you for the love. I'm not even saying because I'm all that. I don't think I'm all that, whatever. I just know I am not going to give any opportunity for somebody to come in. I've already done enough of it just being dumb and stupid and not thinking like a sister does, not thinking like my wife does, and becoming one and being empathetic to her thoughts. I've had to go through some things to realize like I will not put myself in a position where I will lose the greatest wife to ever live. Right? But I'm just being honest with you. I'll be rude, straight up rude. Yeah, I'm just, I would just, right. But when my wife addresses me, I pop too. I'm just keeping it 100. So I'm not looking for a wife or I'm not looking for anybody else's compliments like that. I appreciate every compliment. Thank you. And I try my best to make sure I say thank you to everybody who gives us a compliment, any kind of love in any way, shape, or form. We try our best to do so. Y'all see it even in the lives where I try to make sure I even address people name by name. How you doing, Sherilyn? And all this stuff. I try to address all that stuff. I promise you I do. However, it doesn't mean anywhere close to my wife being by my side. Yeah, I don't want no smoke. That's what every man, he wants peace. Like real talk, I want peace. Anything that's going to take me away from peace is frustrating. You know? So I'm just trying to tell you, right? That hurt. I hurt myself. I'm trying to sit here play it off. That hurt like I don't know what. But but real talk, right? Like I just want peace, right? So I'm not trying to give nobody a piece of nothing if it means I can't have full peace at home. Period. So that in of itself, I'm telling you, we forsook all others. The truth about our men is that I'm not looking for somebody that's quiet. I just want you to keep that same energy. Right? Peace is very precious. But I'm not looking for somebody who's um, you know, not going to say anything. That I told y'all, I had an opportunity. If I really wanted to, I probably could have had, and her family wouldn't have wanted me to be married to her anyway. Well, I think her father was okay with it, but like I had an opportunity. I was trying to see if somebody was worthy of being a wife and stuff. And I told y'all, like she was somebody who basically, because they trained her to be a doll. So she just was dolled up all the time. She had no ability to like really think things through. Her father and mother told her everything she was supposed to do. She basically, like if I had said jump, she would have said how high. I could have had that forever if I wanted. Matter of fact, I knew some of the brothers from, because it was we went to high school in the same area, and so I knew some of the brothers she had gone out with, and I knew how they treated women. And I knew she had been mistreated. I found out some stories to find out that she was mistreated by some of those brothers, gangsters and stuff like that, who she had to just do whatever they said. So I knew I could have gotten away with this for as much as I wanted, because all I had to say was I was a man of God, a man of God. And as a man of God, because she respected that, it would have been over. Her family respected it, so they would have even let it happen, even if I could have done whatever I want. I promise you, as somebody who had an opportunity for it, I ran away from it. I dismissed it. I didn't want any part of it. And maybe it's because I wasn't strong enough to help her through that. I said some things and taught some things, even in the brief period of time we were trying to figure out if it was worthy of marriage or whatever. But like real talk, like I could have had that. And it was irritating. It was irritating. Right? Yeah, I could have taken, like what I'm saying, I could have taken advantage. And it was irritating though, because I need somebody to speak into my life. I need somebody to push me. I felt like I had nobody to push me. I felt like I couldn't cry on anybody else's shoulder. Like I had problems with family members that were passing away and really sick, and people really close to me. And they didn't, praise y'all, but they were on death's door. And I was trying to take care of them. And the whole thing was like, well, I went through this today, and are you going to, why aren't you going to make sure that my needs have been blah, blah. And it was like every day it was because she had never had anybody even listen to her. So I probably just wasn't strong enough, to even consider that part anyways. But I'm just telling you, I could have had that relationship if I wanted, right? I could have had that relationship. I didn't want it. It's like, I don't know any real husband that wants that, because how you going to build empires? How you going to build families? How you going to build love? How you going to become a greater person? And you have nobody who holds you to a standard. I hear you, Amalan. That's a great point. That's a great point. But like some, like, so people make this assumption. Oh yeah, they just want somebody who's going to lay down and going to be a servant. No, I don't. Matter of fact, I'll be the first person to tell you, real talk. Like, if you guys are too busy doing this and that or whatever, I promise you, I'll make sure I eat. Right? Like I'm fine. If I got to go somewhere, if I got to go back to places to where I was in a shelter or whatever, if I feel like whatever, like I promise you, like I'm not too proud. It's not something I do right on a regular basis or anything. But I'm just saying, like if it ever got to a point to where like, oh, food not ready, this and that, like I promise you, no matter if I got money for it, I'm broke, I will eat. Right? I won't put that on your plate. I promise you, I fold my own clothes. I promise you, I don't mind washing no dishes. I promise you, I don't cook, but I can cook well enough to make sure that I'm gonna eat. Right? I promise you that I can pick out clothing for myself. Like I promise you I can do all. I promise you I can help out with the children, do all this stuff, and let you get a break, because sometimes you need a break too. But it would be very nice if we're going to be together, if some of the things that you can bring to the table, you be able to bless me with some of those things. That's the truth about us. A lot of us aren't asking you to come in. right? A lot of you we're not asking you to come in and fix everything. We're asking you to come in and allow yourself to be part of the same mission. And if you make it just as much your mission as it is mine, then it means that you should have the right to tell me anything that helps the mission. I want you to tell me what it is, but first I need you to come in and show me that you put something towards it. See, a lot of y'all got that dating mentality. I'll show you just a little bit of myself. No, are we going towards marriage or not? If not, check please. Like I'm not, y'all into the dating phase. I'll show you a little bit of myself. The next time I'll show you a little bit more. And then I'll spend time during the week trying to figure out what outfit I should wear, how much money should I get, how should I up it this time, what place will we travel to, this and that or whatever. Look, I'm trying to make sure that I've got generations to take care of. I ain't got time to play. And it sounds weird because a lot of men, truth about our men, we're not in touch. We were talking about this earlier this week, or was it last week, whenever, talking about that masculinity and femininity. It's okay for men to have feminine qualities. I'm more masculine than I am feminine, but it's okay for me to talk like that. Like, yo, like time is of the essence. What are we doing this for? Right? What are we doing this for? Y'all sisters be talking about some of these brothers. Like, we've been in this for 3 years now. We gonna get married or not? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like we've been going out. I've been taking you out. I've been doing this. I've been doing that. And you still telling me you don't know about this and that, or you don't know if you're ready to even talk about that. You don't know if you're ready to live together. Live together. Y'all talking about live together and this and that? No. Like, are we gonna be husband and wife? Here's my resume. This is what I do. This is what I like to do. This is my parents. You can talk to my friends. This is my vision. This is what I've done in the past. These are my mistakes. This is the truth about who I am. If you feel led to, I've seen you while I've been in my work, and I watched you, and you seem like you have the qualities of a wife. Can you tell me some things about yourself? I'd like to get to know you more. We have a conversation. Let's meet each other's parents. The goal is husband, wife, right? The goal is husband, wife. Like, if we ain't gonna do husband, wife, what we doing, right? And the funny thing is, y'all don't want to be husband and wife until you want to be husband and wife. Exactly, right? You want the milk and the cow, no payment. Why would he pay for the cow? Why would he pay for the milk? Why would he supply your needs if you don't have to do anything because he already got the cow? Why would he make sure that your grass is green and you lay down in green pastures, but he already got the milk? Right? Like, what are we doing? The truth about your man, women say this all the time, and it really upsets men. Oh yeah, a man only gonna do what you allow a man to do, and men, we laugh about it in public, but inside we be kind of like irritated with that, because you know what? It ain't about what men want to do or allowed. Y'all are the matriarchs. Go to the hood. You tell me how many 85-year-old men there are in the hood. Y'all the one raising these babies. When y'all gonna start teaching these babies, as Titus chapter 2 says, when are the elder women gonna teach the younger women how to be wives? Yeah, for real, that's anybody. That was the part I kind of left that out. I'm glad you said it, because real talk, anybody would do what you let them do, except, once again, the disciplined. You talking about undisciplined boys instead of disciplined husbands who are trained to be fathers, who are ready to be in a disciple of the Most High. A man gonna do whatever you want because you're dealing with fools. Where's your discipline at? I'm disciplined. You think I'm cheating? Like, for real, even if you're not in my marriage. Watch this. Do you think that I'm cheating if I got to be in front of y'all? Like, this is a Monday for me. 6 a.m. workout. This is all in front of y'all. 6 a.m. workout. 6:30 a.m. early rising Bible study session. 8 a.m. live session, going from like 8 to 11. Then got to be back in front of y'all at about 7:45 p.m. Get ready for class at 9 p.m. That means basically, if you want to take preparation and stuff out, which, right, that means basically from 7:30 p.m. down to 11 a.m. Now it's family time where I'm in the house all day and with my wife. Where is the time? And by the way, I call some of y'all on Mondays, don't I? I check in with y'all. We have conversation. There's one-on-one, there's life coaching, marital coaching that goes on, right? So check this out. If I'm doing all that, where is the time for me to even try to cheat? See, it's the discipline you should look for. That's why you find a man in his work. Is he disciplined? My work, even when I was doing this and we started doing these sessions, and I still had side hustles or jobs I was trying to do. I'm too committed. Exactly. I'm too committed to my work. I'm too disciplined at what I believe that I don't have time for that. So the only time left is to sow into my wife, into my child, and then into SOC. And then guess what? I don't have time for no friends. If I got a honey-do list or something, I can maybe try and run to the store real quick or try and pick something out of the garden or something like that. This ain't the garden, be somewhere else right now, but like go pick something, go for something, do whatever, do honey-do list. And then guess what? I got to come right back in front of y'all. Right? Exactly. Ain't nobody got time for that. I'd have to be a whole other person to be able to then start attempting some of this stuff that people might try to accuse me. But you ain't gonna find nobody accuse me because how you gonna accuse me if every time they say, "Hey man, at this time, I think he was here," blah blah. I was in front of one of y'all. And by the way, we traveled so much this year that when I wasn't on a live, I was with one of y'all. So I couldn't even do that because y'all would be there to see me. There's stuff that I even like to do that I can't do in front of some of y'all. Like I like to drink. There's nothing wrong. The Bible doesn't say you can't have alcohol. It says you shouldn't be given to it. But it doesn't say you can't drink alcohol, but I never will in front of y'all. Right? Almost did with a couple of y'all. Matter of fact, I might have with a few more than y'all, but I remember. Right? But I made sure it was people that wouldn't be offended or be a stumbling block. I've told y'all before, look, I don't smoke or nothing like that. And I rarely, I kind of sort of from time to time, but I mean, once every quarter, once every 3 months, maybe I do something with some kind of cannabis oil or something like that. But I never would unless I end up with a disease where I need it, y'all never see me on here like, smoking or even using cannabis oil in any way, shape, or form. Why? Because I don't want to be a stumbling block. Right? And I'm disciplined even when I do. So you're not going to see me drink when I'm going to get drunk. I'm disciplined, right? There's a certain level, right? I recognize, especially if I'm be driving or something like that or traveling behind the wheel. But all I'm trying to say is, long story short, like look for discipline. We can throw a few back. Yeah, all I'm saying is look for discipline. Look for discipline. That's what I'm saying. Like you keep talking about, he got to have muscle. No, discipline. Baby girl, the muscles will fade. No way, he can be strong. Even nowadays, they strong to their 70s and 80s. First of all, I don't know why you need your hopefully you're gonna be strong too if you're looking for him to be all that in 70s, 80s. But I promise you, it's not gonna be a need. Like I don't care how strong somebody is, doesn't matter, whatever. There will be days where you're not gonna have sex, right? So it's the 12 pack and all that stuff is nice, but you need discipline because if you got a 12 pack but he out there still cheating, the 12 pack don't matter. Right? Like, he got to make sure he got this much money. Okay, that's cool and everything. But, there's a lot of women who've been with a lot of men who got money and are ready to leave or have left. Because I promise you from experience, once you've experienced what money gives you, money is nice, right? And everything you need it to a certain extent. But possessions and stuff like that don't really mean what y'all think it is. It just means that when you get the possessions, they're usually, not even always, but we say usually of higher value or higher quality. But a couch is a couch. You know how much that couch costs? $3,000. That couch costs $30,000. That couch costs $300,000. I'm gonna sit on it. Like after a while, you sit on it. You know what I'm saying? It's my couch. I love it, and it matches the decor. And by the way, I bought it not just so much because of the money it costs. I bought it because it matches what it is, the feng shui, if you will. It's correct. Right? Exactly. But a couch that's sitting somewhere that ain't being sat on, it collects dust just like anything else. A couch that a dog gets on, you need to be able to get that smell out just like any other couch. I'm here to tell you, right? It doesn't matter what kind of material it is, you're still dealing with the same issues. Right? Like a couch that got plastic on it, a couch that don't got plastic on it. At the end of the day, you're going to sit on both of them. If you're allowed, the one that got plastic at grandmama's house, you ain't used to be able to sit on that one. Right? But I'm just saying, a couch is a couch. Y'all think that you got more money than somebody. Like, I'm here to tell you, land is land. When you start getting stuff from a certain level financially, and you start doing some stuff, you blessed to travel, whatever, like you start realizing like there's I'm here to tell you, like I keep telling y'all, SOC, we are blessed with a lot of people with a lot of different ilks and backgrounds and stuff. Some people out here with a lot more money, a lot less, this, that, whatever, a lot better housing situations, whatever the case might be. I promise you, when I talk to people who you consider to be like people that just have too much money and they're so rich and blah, blah, this and that, I promise you they got problems just like you do. Matter of fact, their problems get magnified because usually everybody, not only do they have problems, but everybody has their hand out while they have the problems. At least some of y'all that ain't got nothing, people don't always got their hand out like that. I'm telling you, it's different when you got 30, 40, 50 family members, right, out there because they think that you rich and you struggling and you just need one person, right? You're just looking for one person to be a blessing, and you got 50 people asking for you to bless them. It's a different mentality. It's a different game. So I'm just telling you, like all this stuff, when you get to certain places, some of these people that you think and all that, it's a whole different world. It's a whole different mentality. There's a whole different thing going on, right? Right. I'm just trying to bless somebody. Right. You might not see it. You might not think about it that way. It is though. It is what it is. Right. So I'm just saying the truth about our men, and I feel like I didn't even really do justice to what I wanted to. However, our time is up. But the truth about our men is that our men are being discounted, mismanaged, have mileage on them that they shouldn't have, and they don't get oil changes. Holy Spirit, wow. That's a great place to kind of take our leave with that being the last thing. They don't get oil changes. You know, why men are so big on oil changes? Because they know if the oil don't work in the car, they can't travel correct. The sister will go months without an oil change. Brothers don't get oil changes, and we want them. We give them. We need them. Tires got to be rotated. Yeah, oil change, fluids done. Every once in a while, check on my brakes. I might not be able to stop what I'm doing because my brakes don't work. My brakes don't work. I'm trying to stop. I don't want to keep doing what I'm doing to you. I don't want to keep hurting you. I'm not here to hurt you, but I don't know how to stop. I don't have any brakes. Nobody ever did it. I'm sorry, Miss Moon. If you were on tomorrow, yeah, I'm sorry. If you're on tomorrow, let us know. I apologize. I didn't even get back to it. It wasn't. Please don't think it was something done on purpose. I apologize. But yeah, remind me tomorrow if you can send me even a text, or I don't know if you whatever platform you have access to us. Maybe you can send me a message or something about what the question was again, and I'll make sure that we, maybe we can start there tomorrow or something like that. So I apologize. I know somebody else think it was aphrodisiac. You asked about manipulation or something like that, which I don't think I fully knew where you wanted to go with it anyway. So maybe if you can send me something to kind of let me know what that is, y'all can remind me tomorrow, and we'll get to it tomorrow. I promise. That being said, though, you're like, yeah, check on these husbands. Jet broken, but we will figure it out and stand with our men together. Amen. Yeah, check on your husbands. Check on your husband. And this is what I want you to do. This is how I want you to do it, sisters. I want you to do it like this. And when I say your husbands, you training these boys to be husbands too, right? So I'm telling you, check on these husbands. Check on your brother, your cousin, right? This is what I want you to do. This is how you say it, because sometimes they still gonna be like, oh no, I'm fine. And you might have to ask them more than once, in all honesty, because we're taught not to tell how we feel. I want you to come to him and say this. I don't know what your pet name is, but hey babe, I want to talk to you, and I want to ask you a question, but I want you to promise me something. Yeah, he'll probably say yeah or okay or whatever, because he thinks that you're gonna try to say something that's gonna force him to have to say why he's the problem and this and that or whatever. Just say, I want you to promise me something. You say, well, what am I promising? You're going to be okay with what you're going to promise me. I just want you to promise me something. Say that you promise that you'll answer my question truthfully. And you say, okay, yeah, sure. What is it? And say, I want you to tell me if you feel respected as a man. And then you got to put a little caveat on it. You got to tell them, I promise you, this is my promise to you. Whatever you say here, I will not repeat to anybody unless you give permission. Whatever you say here, I will not yell at you. Even if I disagree with it, I will bite my tongue if necessary. But I want you to just tell me if you feel respected as a man, and if not, why you don't, and how I might be able to help. Humble, humility, but it's necessary. And he might not trust it because he might not have ever had anybody do that for him before. As a homework assignment, you got to do this for yourself if you feel, right? But I'm telling you, tell him, once again, I promise you, and then you have to keep your promise. I promise you, I will not tell anybody. And guess what? Now, here's the deal, right? Maybe you need to put this on if you can't handle this. Because here's the deal. He might have so much pent-up frustration that he might get to a place where he starts yelling. If you can't handle the yelling, now I'm not saying he's gonna put his hands on you or anything, which obviously if he's doing that, you shouldn't be with him anyways. But I'm saying he might start yelling. So you might have to tell him, you know me, please don't yell, blah, blah, or this and that or whatever, right? However, if you need to be intense, if it's something that I'm not gonna wanna hear, please say it, right? If you can't handle it, because sometimes in relationships, you should allow your spouse to be able to yell a little bit. They should be able to, because once again, they're forsaking all others. So if they can't yell, it's like when you talk about, I know I'm shifting to something that seems extreme, but it's like, if somebody's going to do stuff, as far as you're going to tell them, you can't go this, you can't have sex with nobody else, you can't go hang out with nobody else, you can't have blah, blah, you can't talk this, you can't use these words, you can't blah, blah. It's like, well, then you're going to have to do it with me. So I'm just saying they might yell a little bit. And when men yell, it sounds different because masculinity, once again, is pushed down. When they're little boys, you love to hear a little boy yell, and you don't mind when a little boy is really frustrated and mad and angry and telling you about yourself as a mama, right? But when he gets to be a husband, he's not supposed to do that anymore. So at least allow him to vent. Yeah. At least allow him to get some of this stuff off his chest. And he might be a little boisterous. He might be tense. He might start talking like this because he doesn't get the opportunity to do that, right? So, and I can tell you, like, even sometimes, like, I get irritated because I'm 6'5.5", deep voice. If I get mad, y'all ain't never really seen me mad in this platform, right? If I get mad, it doesn't sound like or look like anybody else. And my wife is 5'6", so it doesn't look like everybody else. 6'5" to 5'6", that looks like, me getting mad looks like I'm abusive, but it's not. I'm not abusive. I need to get this off my chest. I need to get this off my chest. And as a man, I'm not allowed to. And here's the deal. I don't even get to do this with women. My mom won't let me do it, but you don't want me to be a mama's boy. Okay, well then who do I get to do this with? I mean, I need somebody, because I want to vent and get my wife's perspective, but my wife says if I do it, I'm abusive. Well, I don't do it. Can I do it every once in a while? I see you, Sir Steven. He's going to need, so I'm just saying, if he's never had the opportunity to do this, or he barely gets to do it, be ready for a little bit of thunder. And that doesn't mean it's lightning, but be ready for thunder. That means lightning somewhere around, right? Lightning is not going to strike you, right? But at the same time, if you want him to voice his concern, well, then with lightning, even if he's not going to direct it at you, or it's not your fault, thunder is going to be around. And sometimes it's so close to you that the thunder scares you. But be ready for that, right? I'm just saying, ask him and tell him that it's a safe space, and then make it a safe space. And you know what will happen? Instead of him waiting over and over again for long, long periods of time and stuff for this stuff to come into fruition, you know what will happen? He'll trust you enough to where he won't let it build up again to that moment. And he'll say, okay, I told her, she hasn't said anything. She didn't throw it in my face during an argument again. She still loves me. She's still here. She actually tried to improve on some of the stuff that I said, and she didn't make me feel guilty. She didn't gaslight me and say, well, the reason you said this because you said 7,000 other things that have nothing to do with what I'm talking about, She just listened. She heard me, and she had to do everything I said. But the fact that she at least did 3 or 4 of them, I talked for an hour. She at least picked 3 or 4 things that I said and said she'd do better, and she continues to do better. And she doesn't keep slapping me with something that I did 70 years ago. I did it 15 years ago, and she's still bringing it up like it's fresh. Like if it's fresh, maybe it's because I never improved. Fine, but if I've improved in that area, and I'm making sure that I'm not doing the same thing, and I've made sure that I've apologized and I've done blah blah, and I've done the things she told me. Like I said, men play games. Remember we were talking about the other day. Boys are raised playing games. Games have rules, they have regulations, and somebody's supposed to win. Like it's a possibility for me to actually win a game, right? And if there's no rules that say you can actually win, you can actually be better, you can actually stop having this brought up in your face the whole time, he's not going to open up. I don't know if men are more emotional than women, but we're emotional, right? We just show it different, and he even wants, like, your man doesn't want to cry in front of everybody. He doesn't. But you know who he would love to every once in a while be allowed to cry in front of is you. And he would like to be able to cry in front of you and you not say, man, you look weak right now. Because he's saying that he's willing to be weak so he can be strong for you in every other area. Right? I promise you. But he's gonna tell you something. If you allow him to be real, then allow him to be real. Just like you get to tell him off, right? He might tell you off. And the way he's supposed to sit there and take it sometimes. Sometimes I've learned this, sometimes your wife is trying to tell you something and she doesn't want you to she doesn't need you to give an answer. She just needs you to listen. You might need to listen and not be ready to say why all these things it is. And if he asks a question, you might need to realize it's a rhetorical question. Don't be ready to give him the same thing y'all say. I don't want you to come and tell me all the answers to this and that. Okay, true that. All right, I won't do that. Right? Okay, now it's my turn. And he doesn't need it as much as a wife does, because most of his stuff is done internally. Right? But everything should be done internally. Remember, it is not righteous. It is not constitutional. It is not good that a man should be alone. Alone means what? All in one. He shouldn't be all in one in his thoughts. He shouldn't be all in one in his anger. He shouldn't be all in one in what's frustrated. He shouldn't be all in one what they do with him at the job. It's not great for him to be all in one, or what we call alone. I will create for him a helpmeet. So when he's in a situation he's in, he can have somebody to call to talk to. And it doesn't always have to be somebody who he's never seen. He knows he's real. He knows where he is, but he's never seen the Father. Right? He knows even he's inside, but he's never seen the Father. But he knows that you are there. He can see you. And it's nice every once in a while that he can talk to his reflection and look in the mirror and be like, okay, that's what we're supposed to be. This is, once again, your husband wants you to be a mirror. He wants you to look and act and talk like him, and he wants to look and act and talk like you. It's a mirror. He wants to look in the mirror and have a conversation. It's very interesting, like in other religiosities and other stuff, you'll see that everybody has a mirror on. They'll talk about chanting and look in the mirror and do this and do that. And it's very interesting that we have that go on, and people will chant looking in the mirror, but they won't talk to their spouse to look in the mirror. I'm talking to you as if I'm talking to myself. If I'm angry with you, I'm really angry with myself. The truth about our men. If I'm angry with you, I promise you I'm really more angry at me. Just like Yahshua, when he was here on the earth, had emotions. He cried too. He said, why are you sad about Lazarus? I can bring him back from the dead. She said, sure, you could. And he said, what do you feel about the resurrection? She said, well, I believe that he'll come back in the resurrection. He said, I am the resurrection. And all that being said, then what did he do? Same thing she did. She was crying. He started crying. Her brother was gone. Lazarus was like a brother. He was a great friend. They both cried. Even in giving direction, he still was looking in the mirror. At first, he was talking to her to try and get her straight. Hey, I am the resurrection. Don't worry about it. I am the resurrection. Once you got it, then what did he do? Now I can cry. A lot of husbands, that's how we do. That's the truth about our men. I know we're over time, so we're about to take our leave, right? The truth about a man, I promise you, like, yeah, we're gonna try and get this thing right. And then what happens? I promise you, there are brothers on here, they can tell you if I'm lying. If I'm right, they can tell you if I'm lying. We will get you straight. We will make sure that we don't show any weakness. And then as soon as everything we know is on track, we will leave conveniently when nobody needs us anymore and nobody's paying attention to us. We will then leave and then we cry. Like, we wish we could trust that we could cry in the middle of the situation, but we know that if we cry, people are going to think that we can't cry and get it done. So we'll hide what we're going through. We'll make sure that you're straight, the children are straight, the family straight, the community straight, all that stuff. And then as soon as everything's all right, I'm going to go in my little closet over here and I weep. We'll travel in the car, hours and hours and hours. Need to cry, no problem. We're going to make it to where we are as soon as everybody's asleep. And they think that we just went to sleep and all that, we cry. I'm telling you, right? Like, and that's what we've been taught to do. And so I'm just telling you, every once in a while, remember I said this before? If you look at the house is pretty. The house in Hebrew is a word that also doubles for the word family, right? And people will go into the house, and you never once say anything about the foundation, but the man is supposed to be the foundation. The husband's supposed to be the foundation. But nobody walks into a house and says, man, this is a really nice foundation. You just say, look at the windows, look at the drapes, and look at the chandelier, and look at the couch, and look at the beds, and look at the bathroom, and look at this, and look at that, and look at the wood, and look at the kitchen area, right? Look at the backsplash, all these things. But if it's not for the foundation, the family don't stand, the house doesn't stand. And so a lot of men are foundations trying to make sure they have no cracks so that the house can remain intact. And nobody ever takes time out to say we appreciate the foundation. The house is the only thing attached to the foundation. Right? Yeah, you've asked your husband before, yeah, if he was crying and he say no, because we're not supposed to. We're not supposed to show any cracks. We think that crying is a crack in the foundation, when really foundations are designed to be able to go through flooding, right? If it gets wet, it's okay. The foundation is still strong, but we think that because we have some wetness in our face that it's not strong. I'm trying to tell you, like, the house is the only thing attached to the foundation. Family, house, wife, you're attached to the foundation, the husband. Nobody else is going to step in the family and care about what the husband's going through. That's why you need to. And I know you go, but why do I need to do it? That's why you need to. That's why we didn't get off. I thought we were going to be done with this right by this time, but that's why we're still on here. That's, somebody needs to hear that. That's why you need to do that. Why I need to say that. Why can't he just did? I mean, he's a man, ain't he? Blah, blah. Yeah, he is a man. He's a foundation. Matter of fact, he's not just a man, he's a husband. He's a foundation. As a foundation, nobody's going to be attached to him like you will. The only reason people care about him being a foundation is because they see the house. Only experts at building foundations actually look to see what foundation is supposed to be. Everybody else, they talk about the house only. So if you have a foundation, if you have a husband, bless him with kind words. Remind him and let him know on a regular basis that I can't stand without you, just like you won't be recognized without me. I'm trying not to cry because a lot of brothers, when I hear them, like this is their cry. Like, and I grew up around a lot of brothers that now when I got older and realized that was their relationship, man. Like, I'm telling you, there's a lot of hurt, and the foundation thinks that he's supposed to be unseen. His hurt is not supposed to be seen. It's just supposed to be buried underground, and he's supposed to hold the family, right? But nobody in the family in the house is connected, even though they're connected to the foundation. Nobody's saying, hey, hang in there. Great work. What can we do? How can we help? Yeah, you know, you hear it all the time. Be on beast mode 100 times. And by the way, 100% of the time, give 120. And I love me some Eric Thomas, right? But Eric Thomas, you can't give 120 all the time. Love me some Eric Thomas, but you can't do it. I love me some Eric Thomas. Pastor Eric Thomas, motivational speaker, great stuff in there. Man, he's helped me to change my mentality on a lot of stuff. He's one of the people that helps me when I start feeling low on my drive. I got to put me some ET on. Real talk. Love me some Eric Thomas. But bro, you can't be on 120 the whole time. And when I'm not on 120, And it's because, especially because I'm feeling a certain way about things, I need somebody there who's the only woman. This is what the Bible declares. She's the only person that can see my nakedness. She's the only one allowed to see even my testicular region. That's what it's talking about. The only thing that's allowed to see what produces seed, right? She's the only person that's allowed to see in my life what produces life. She's the only thing that is allowed to see my seed, and the only person who can have seed planted in her garden, her Eden, if you will, that will allow something to grow in its presence, the presence of the Most High, and will be the only person, therefore, you can have fruit. She's the only one allowed to see my naked. And she has so much power because of it. She's the only one. Hey, babe, I'm sorry. How you doing? My wife is on the Honorable Maya. Check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. Thank you guys so much for being on with us today. And thank you, babe, for being on with us too. Right? So I'm just trying to tell you, like, there's a lot of stuff. And look, a lot of people have walked out on their marriage. Don't feel bad. A lot of people got divorces. A lot of people have been cheated on, have cheated, whatever the case might be. But it's because we weren't trained for it. We got into something like this that's eternal. But once again, today I'm focusing on the truth about our men. We talked about the truth about marriage too in this series. So please go back and listen to that. But the truth about our men it's very crucial. We have to recognize and realize that our men, once again, they're fish out of water, and a fish out of water malfunctions and dies. Right? A fish out of water might malfunction if you try to help it and try to kill you. A fish out of water might malfunction and hit you with a tentacle or something, right? That poisons you. I don't know if a jellyfish is technically a fish or not, but like a jellyfish is not supposed to be on land anyways. And really, it's just being who it is. It's just out of water, right? So we the truth about our men. Hopefully you gotten something out of this. And long story short, once again, I'm talking about our culture. I know this isn't for everybody. I know this isn't something that's recognized by everybody. I know this is something that's going to be lifted up by everybody. And really, it doesn't need to be. Right? Prayerfully is for those who want their marriages to be strong and want to make sure that the communities get better and want to make sure that they love on one another. That being said, I appreciate the King, Queen, and each and every one of you. As always, it's been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant to Christ, where we're always changing lives one mind at a time, being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. I believe we have a meeting with everybody, with the ministerial staff at 6:30 p.m. Eastern today. Right after that, I got a meeting, a one-on-one with somebody. Also, those of you who we didn't have class yesterday, we'll make sure that we do one-on-one sessions with each one of you. So be ready for me to send you a text, or if you don't get a text soon, feel free to send me a text so we can set up a time for that. We'll see you later on Kofi_42 for our evening session. And I believe that's it. So thank you again. We honor you all. If you're watching this on YouTube, TikTok, or the podcast, or listening to the podcast, or if you're watching this on Facebook, especially if you're watching this later on, we thank you so much for spending time listening in. And we look forward to it. Don't forget, December 19th, I believe, is going to be our Women in Red event. So sisters, be ready for that, for Women in Red. It's like an African type tea experience that we have for our sisters. And so we are excited about the vision that the Honorable Maya has for that. And thank you guys so much for being on again. I can't thank you enough. We appreciate you. We honor you. We'll talk to you guys soon. As always, this has been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant to Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. Until I have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again, please remember, as always, just that you are loved, you are necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully, wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family. Peace.